for the few hours you've been searching, it seems like Marlene can't seem to find the thing, whatever it is they are looking for. And in the distance, as this look of loss is starting to fall over Marlene's face, and Mercy is hurriedly looking around, like kind of looking everywhere, like they're expecting to see Martin or someone at any point in time, something that will draw their attention, something that will show them that they're going in the right direction. Mercy turns and says, "What's that over there?" Pointing up to the air, there's in the distance, in the same district of Char Hollow, there seems to be a thick plume of smoke rising into the air, just barely visible in the distance. This thick plume of smoke is not from an area of factories or anything like that. Char Hollow tends to have less of those sorts of things, mostly having steam pipes and cooking pots and where the vast majority of people live. So a giant plume of smoke isn't something that's natural in this district. And as Reaper specifically sort of sets their bearings for a second, letting everything wash over them, letting where they are in Char Hollow, being a local, they look in that direction and they realize that's Wicker Street. Wicker Street is on fire. In that moment, all of you, including Marlene, realize that. As Marlene, it clicks for them as well, and they start sprinting down the street as fast as their feet can carry them, hurriedly through Char Hollow until they eventually arrive at Wicker Street. Standing now, they see the several hovels I described before, the houses of Henna, Aldo, neighbors, all the different people they know are now cast in flame, burning brightly in the darkness. There is a huge plume of smoke into the air, and both Aldo and Henna are nowhere in sight. There's people in the streets saying, no, my things, trying to get in or out. There's chaos happening. People are frightened. People are trying to put out the fire as it's starting to spread into the other hovels and other houses and apartments and things of that nature. It seems, however, though, that in this moment you realize, as you're looking at it, that the flames seem to be the largest and hottest, starting at the point of Aldo's home.
Ezra or Blinder won't be running ahead. He'll walk at a kind of a hurried pace, but not anything that's like in a dire rush.
If he doesn't run, then he loses. Like he'll lose them because they're all like Marlene starts running. I presume Reaper starts running as well. Reaper starts sprinting, and then Mercy immediately follows up sprinting right behind them. Like, not knowing what's going on, Mercy is just sprinting ahead. So that's fine. If Ezra wants to hang back, that's totally fine. But he may, if he goes at a very slow pace, he may lose them in the distance. Because they're... Okay.
They start moving off, and he pauses for a second, right? And he takes a quick glance back, almost like, like looking like there's the escape door, and then like turns around and then runs after them.
Okay.
Basically, just trying to keep up.
Yeah, so he has that moment where he's like, he could escape. Like, none of them are paying attention to him. He could just leave right now. And then at the last second, he sort of turns and keeps following them. Okay. Yeah. So now, the four of you, of course, Ezra coming in behind, Reaper is standing there, Marlene is standing there. There's a look of shock on Marlene's face. She starts asking around. They're like, has anyone seen Henna? Has anyone seen Aldo? Who's still inside? Where? And she starts to scream their name. Henna! Henna! She's screaming their name. And then as that happens, you see Henna with like cloaks and smoke kind of coughing is steps out from behind a crowd of people, stepping through the crowd towards Marlene. She's like, I'm here, she says. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to run up to her and make sure she's okay. Have you seen Aldo?
She seems a little singed, like she might have been near the fire trying to put it out, or maybe she was inside when it was burning, but she doesn't seem to have any burn marks on her body or anything that you can see. She is coughing. There's that sort of like, hardness of breathing, like maybe smoke or something of that variety. And she's, I'm fine, dear. I don't know where Aldo is. I haven't seen him. I don't know if he's home. I don't know if he's inside his house, but it's an inferno over there. And she is... You can just see this massive, like, almost like look of loss at this point. Like she's starting to perhaps already accepted the fact that if Aldo was inside, he's probably dead. and she's not even sure what to do with herself. Like she's in shock, really. And she just sits there and she starts crying, and then she like reaches out and tries to hug you, just looking for some sort of comfort and saying that she's sorry. And she's just saying that she's like, I'm so sorry. I don't know where he is.
I'm gonna hug her back, and then I'm gonna kind of nudge her towards Marlene, and then I'm gonna break into a sprint down to Aldo's house.
Aldo's house, as I said before, is only a few houses down, so it's like really, it's not that far. Like looking, you're kind of right. We'll say you're a little bit to the, you were standing in front of sort of Henna's, which is the beginning of, we'll say, almost like, imagine like a cul-de-sac that just keeps going. And Henna's house is one of the ones right on the end, and so you met up with Henna right near that house, and down, basically like, think of like duplexes, how they're connected. 2 or 3 houses down is basically Aldo's, and that's where you saw the biggest billow of fire, the biggest sort of area of flame and heat it seems to be originating from is inside Aldo's home. So you run over there. Oh, you have something? Go ahead.
I'll run after her, but I'm not going quite as quickly. I'm running in spurts because like Blinder will stop and like see the building, see somebody screaming or something, and just like kind of like look at it like it doesn't, like it's disappeared, confused, and then run again, and then stop and look over. You know what I mean? Like it's,
I'm gonna try to find a way into the house, unless it's fully engulfed.
It seems like the windows and doors and the outside of the house are fully engulfed, so it seems like there's definitely like sort of a layer of flame between you and whatever else may be going on inside the house. There's also a thick sheet of smoke pouring out of pockets, like the windows have started to like bust out in places and smoke is escaping from it. It seems like there's a hole in the roof that has been forming and smoke is escaping from. It's also just sort of everywhere at all places.
I'm going to roll a hunt, and I'm going to make a devil's bargain.
Okay.
I'm going to look around for an easy escape route that somebody could get away with someone.
Seeing how in this sort of particular neighborhood, the street lines, like the path through here is sort of a street with like houses on both sides. So it's sort of like I said, sort of a cul-de-sac that keeps going for a long distance. There is sort of a back alleyway behind the homes that perhaps might lend the ability. There are buildings that are multi-storied and things like that, so perhaps if you found your way through an alleyway or something of that variety, you might be able to get behind Aldo's home in order to use a back door, or I mean, that's more of akin of what you're looking for, a place where someone could have been taken away publicly. And so this is, for the audience out there, here's sort of a sample picture of a little bit of what Charhol may look like. This is taken from the Blades in the Dark book.
So I am going to... Who's with me right now?
Marlene is standing next to you. Mercy is there, and the man by the name of Blinder.
Yeah, Blinder comes settling up a little bit.
I'm gonna look over at you guys, and the person who has Aldo, if Aldo is not dead in that house, would have escaped through the back alleyways. I'm gonna go check. So if somebody wants to come with me or stay here and look for Aldo, do that.
I think you should go unattended. And I'll look back and forth between Mercy as just trying to decide who would probably be the quickest to kill me if a fight happened, right? And they'll take a step closer to Reaper because I haven't seen her fight yet. So
Marlene says, "I'll stay here with Henna and try to help out here before the fire, the fire patrol people sort of arrive, because it could turn into chaos as we've seen before. So just be safe. Hopefully you find him. Hopefully he's okay." Mercy looks at you and says, "I'll come with though."
The fire is started by this, and I'll show them the little package with the substance that I took from Shale.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll show them, and I'll look at Henna and tell her this is what I spoke to Aldo about, that I found on Shale. But I have to go, so I'm gonna grab both Mercy and Blinder by like the arm, and I'm just gonna drag them out towards the alleyway.
Sure. So they follow, presumably hurriedly around through the alleyway to the back of the buildings, the sort of connected hovels and houses that are all burning. There's far less people back here, and you don't currently see anyone moving any direction or anything like that. It seems most of the people have either moved away or ran away from the fire. At least that you can see in your immediate area.
This is where I'm going to use Hunt.
Okay.
I have 1 dot in it. I'm going to take a Devil's Bargain.
Sure.
For 2 dice.
What is the hope for the Devil's Bargain? What are you thinking? Do you have thoughts on that?
I'm trying to find Aldo or somebody that's escaping. I guess a Devil's Bargain could be that they notice me without me notice them.
Sure. Okay. I'm fine with that. Yeah. So go ahead and gain another dice without having to spend stress for it. As I explained before, just to explain again, a Devil's Bargain in this system is something that a player can choose to put upon themselves in their own roll to gain an additional dice for the roll, or I can offer it to them as the Game Master, saying, would you like to take a Devil's Bargain? And so it gives them an extra dice that they can roll, potentially increasing the chance of them succeeding. But it also means that there is something that will happen based on the decision they make for the Devil's Bargain. That even if they crit succeed or full succeed, still takes place. So yeah, go ahead and did you roll?
How many dice did I get?
You said you had a Hunt of 1, and then the Devil's Bargain gives you +1 dice, so you have 2 dice, 2d6.
I got a 4 and a 6.
Ooh, that's a 6 is a full success, so no negative consequence to the roll, but you still have the Devil's Bargain. So your plan was to use Hunt in order to try and find some sort of trail or path or something of that variety? Okay, so as you're looking and you're starting to move past, the fire and the smoke is still thick in the air, and it's pooling out this way. Past you as well, not just straight up, but overhead. There's some canal ways off in the distance, and so that sort of cool air from the water is coming up and creating sort of a pocket of smoke just drifting towards it very quickly. So it's sort of almost like a canopy or roof of smoke. There's still a little bit in the air, and you're sort of breathing it in, but it's not as thick as this air current of smoke that's traveling several feet above your head. And so as you're moving through the smoke, it's a little bit hazy. All of you can see each other and you can see ahead of you, but you can't see like super far, because that, like with fog, the further away you get, it's the harder it is to see. And as you're looking through, you eventually find a patch of cobblestone that seems to have a missing few pieces, like a few pieces over time sort of fell apart or cracked, and then dirt and soot and things of that nature packed into it. So there's just like this small little patch of dirt and soot over time that's become a little mud spot back here in the back alleyway, and you see what looks like a partial imprint of a boot, and it is nearby Aldo's place, and it looks very fresh, like probably less than an hour or more. Did you have something, Blinder?
Yes. So I see her find this boot track.
Yes.
Right. I'm basically gonna nudge her, like looking around very nervously. It's like, what exactly are we looking for here?
We're looking for possibly somebody taking Aldo and using the fire as a distraction, or perhaps hoping that he's presumed dead.
And look, I see it, and I'll look down at the boot track, and I'll begin to study it. To see what I can glean from it.
Okay. While you do that roll, I'm going to sort of finish up with the hunt. You notice that based on the boot print, it seems like perhaps it was one person that was moving. There wasn't a whole extra amount of weight. It seems like the person who pressed it was an average, presumably average weight, average height. The boots that you can see in the boot print itself in the mud are not the normal worn away, destroyed boots that you might see for someone who actually like lives or works in this area. They seem very like the boot print is very crisp. It has what looks like little traction points, which you don't see a lot of in shoes, but there are like little traction points in it. Like the person themselves have added something perhaps to their boots or their shoes or whatever the case may be in order to gain extra amounts of traction. Just because rubber in the 1800s didn't really exist, you know what I mean? So they had a different way of making shoes, and so treads work differently. So it seems like these treads still are there and in effect, which makes you presume that this person may not actually be from Char Hollow. Whoever left this footprint is their boots at least are from a potentially nicer part of town.
I got 2 twos.
2 twos. Okay, so that is a failure. But
right.
as I said before to everyone, there is no failing in this game. There's only failing forward. And so in this specific instance, as you are trying to study the boot print, you notice similar things. You notice you're like, oh, that's a very clean boot print. Oh, it's not too old. You presume the same, a little bit of the same information, you know, being very, very familiar with it and that sort of thing and studying it. You're unable to exactly glean what direction it might have gone from there because of the cobblestone sort of masking the rest of the steps that are going on. But you are able to put together that the boot print seemed to come from nearby, like someone was perhaps walking by. But you're not sure where it originated from. Like where you don't know if they were they just walking through the alleyway or were they coming out of a house? You're not able to really discern the angle and direction, but you're able to, you know, see the boot print and know that, oh, this seems like a fine boot or something of that variety.
It's not really apparent where they went, or what direction they were coming from, but it's definitely not a boot that is from this area of town.
Reaper, with your full success, I'll give you a little bit more information there just because we're doing 2 things at once and it's sort of something. So as he's saying this to you, you're sort of glancing around and you notice a little bit of mud is left, a sort of outline of a boot print, not a full boot print, so you didn't really notice it at first. But as you're sitting there thinking about what he's saying and you're starting to look around, you see this outline of the boot. Now it's taking steps away. So like that one, like we'll say left foot that stepped into the mud, left a bit of an imprint for the next couple steps that it took in a direction. And it seems like it's moving, like it may have moved away from Aldo's home and then went over this sort of edge down towards the waterway that I was talking about, down into the canalway where there are like, you know, docks and things like that going on, or, you know, like walkways and stuff like that eventually lead to a very small canalway that's going on.
I'll point those out to Blinder. Do you think we should go down the canalway?
Your guess is as good as mine at this point. You're the one who found the prince to begin with, to be honest. Sorry if I'm not too helpful.
No problem. Let's go. You've been helpful. Come on.
In that moment, Blinder for a moment hears a whispering behind them. That sort of undistinguishable whispering. And then he swears, and feel free to react. I'll let you roleplay through it here in a second. He swears he hears a, "Help me," and then, you know, it sort of comes in and then fades out.
Blinders, is it like possible to use a skill without consciously like activating the skills? Because
Sure.
I think you would like subconsciously attune.
Sure.
Like,
I mean, attuning is an active thing. Like it's like studying or hunting or something like that. Using a power could be just second nature, but attuning itself is an act of will. Right, it's you bringing your senses into the ghost field, which for those of you watching, the ghost field is basically the thin layer, almost like a gauntlet of sorts, the thin layer that separates the material plane from the existence of ghosts and the death plane that is there. It's a very thin veil, which is why ghosts are able to travel between it, etc.
So okay, I'm gonna tune then. And Reaper sees behind her, step back, right, and look around, and get a very serious look on his face. Not like really, like alert, not like pensive or panicked, and he just goes like serious and starts looking around very intently, as I try to tune.
Okay.
And I'll burn 2 stress, if that's okay.
Sure. Yeah.
To add dice.
Yeah. Go ahead. You gain another dice.
All right. A 2 and 2 1s.
A 2 and 2 1s.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ow.
In that moment, you start to hear the whispering again. You're tuning to the ghost field. There's this. You close your eyes, and there's this sort of shudder and vibration that you feel through your body. And then, as you open your eyes, you see this warping of vision and reality. Like everything material around you sort of shifts crazily, almost like a kaleidoscope. Things are changing, colors are blurring, and then you start to hear the whispers surrounding you now much louder, almost like they're physically there in your presence. Just like they're moving past you and talking. People are trying to have conversations. You hear people laughing in the distance. You hear children playing. You hear a man talking to a person saying, no, that's my dog. Just all sorts of things happening, almost like you're hearing the busy streets. But all of it is a whisper. It's reverbing, it's echoing, it's surrounding you in all these places. And then all at once, as it is crescendoing in your ears, almost vibrating your eardrums and affecting your equilibrium, giving you that sort of dizzied spin that starts to take over, you snap out of it, and you hear someone almost like screaming in your ear, "Over here!" And it's towards one of the houses behind you and to your right.
Oh, okay. I'm basically, I go down on one knee, right, clutching my ears, and like, that way,
And you see him pointing towards one of the houses, the one that's directly next to Aldo's.
And I'll grab Reaper by the arm to balance myself. It's like, and I'll look her directly in the eyes. As I look up, you see a sort of a misty blackness sort of recede from my gaze and showing my actual eyeballs. It's over there. It's we have to go that way.
Okay, let's go. I will kind of half carry, half drag.
Oh, it's like the place he's pointing to you, by the way, is like 3 feet away from you. Or like more like 5 feet away from you. It's one of the houses that's thick with smoke and burning, and he seems to be pointing to a section of it. It seems like a few feet away from where one of the hovels in this sort of duplex fashion connects to Aldo's hovel as well. And that is where he pointed. He pointed at that section of that next house over. He's like, right there. It's right there.
I'll go right over there then and try to find a way in through the fire, or find a way to put out the fire that's around.
It seems to be set into the very walls themselves. But as you can see, the pressure, as I was saying, was creating cracks. And as you look inside, you see a bundled form of someone hidden in that corner. And they seem to be like moaning like softly, like and they're coughing, but it's like very, very faint, like they're so close to unconsciousness. There's like
is there any way that I can break anything to get through, even by burning myself?
You could physically try to break. Okay,
I'm gonna use wreck. I have 2 dots in that.
I'm gonna wreck it.
You could try to kick it so you're not burning your hands. Perhaps use your boots as a way to prevent some of the burn and effects. You could try to kick. Yeah.
I got a 5 and a 4.
Okay, that's a mixed success. So as you're going to kick into the wood itself, you because of the fire, it's obviously lost some of its strength, and it starts to snap and break. But during that moment, some of the heat sort of flashes out at you, and you get hit right in the face with some of that smoke, and you start to sort of cough, and everything's a little bit dizzy. You're going to take at least for a few moments, you're going to take like I'm going to call it the diseased condition effect. So it's just a level 1. It's basically like, think of it like a little bit of blindness. It might make it hard to do some things if they require like perfect vision or whatever, as you're sort of coughing and gagging from this huge plume of smoke that hit you in the face. So that's just in the lowest rung. By the way, for those of you watching, this game, like I said, doesn't have an HP system. It has so many conditions that you can take, and once you've taken so many conditions, your character basically either passes out or dies. So this is the lowest level of those conditions. Think of it like a tower that slowly builds, and once it gets full, your character is out, right? So Reaper has just taken a level 1 or the lowest rung of conditions that they can take, and so they still have some time before that sort of thing adds up. So yes, so that smoke hits you, you've kicked it, Mercy following suit with you, as you're coughing, starts kicking into the thing, and then pulls out from behind them, pulls out like sort of a short sword, and then jams it into a piece of wood and starts to pry the wood as best as they can. They end up like chipping their blade a bit and bending it a little bit, you know, like there's that bend to it, but it doesn't seem like it's completely broken, like they haven't snapped it off or anything like that. But there's they're definitely trying to pry as best as they can, and they're starting to loosen the boards. So what is Ezra still there? I mean, obviously Ezra's still there, but I mean, like, is Ezra helping? Is he still recovering from his experience?
I would say if I pretty much fumbled, so yeah, he's still recovering.
Okay, that's fine.
You know, he's
That's
just
fine.
like
Yeah.
he's still curing it, and it's
Yeah.
ringing in his head. His head's hurting, and he can't really quite seem to focus
Okay.
on what's going on. I mean, he knows what's going on
Mm-hmm.
in a general sense, obviously, but like, you know, he's just kind of more being dragged by Reaper at this point.
Of course. Okay. So we'll move back to Reaper. What is Reaper doing in this situation?
I'm trying to break in still,
Okay.
until I can get myself through.
Mm-hmm.
And I will go to that huddled bundle, and I will try to get that person out of there as soon as possible.
Okay. So go ahead and roll again for a continued effect that is taking place. Basically, think of this as like a sort of like ongoing action that you're slowly chipping away until you eventually can break this thing. Please feel free to take 1 extra dice because Mercy is assisting you. Think of it like an assist bonus.
2 2s and a 5.
Okay, so that's once again a mixed success. So you're still coughing and gagging a little bit. You're not going to take another condition, but you are slightly, like, at one point you end up not being able to kick because you need to pry. So you end up reaching in, and your hands are definitely starting to get a little singed, and like they're not 3rd-degree burns or anything at this point, but it is hard work. You're sweating. The heat and the smoke is billowing into your face. But eventually you and Mercy are able to pry enough boards away, breaking them off as more smoke comes billowing out, and you're able to reach your hands in through the fire that's going on, and pull this form slowly to the hole. And as you do, you eventually pull them, and you're pulling them, and you pull them out, and out comes, hitting the ground now, covered in what feels like a sort of damp goat wool, like blanket of some variety, is Aldo, laying there barely conscious, coughing. It seems like he has some burns on him or something like that, or at least there's the marks of charcoal and smoke, and he is just barely there.
Does CPR exist in this universe? Medicine?
Sure, yeah.
Like, there's no... Does I guess Tinker, but I don't have Tinker.
At this point, having cleared my head a little bit more, seeing the person now present and need to extract them and help that person, and just I'll reach forward, I'll pull them out, and I suppose like this time period, this sort of period, you would use water. Probably
Sure, yeah.
that would be the first response. They'd be like, "Oh, just give him water," like.
Yeah.
So like I'll reach over to like a drinking barrel or a drinking well or a pitcher of water.
Like
I'll look around
rainwater
for
collected or something.
rainwater,
Sure.
anything that would basically you could just splash on his face and
Oh,
give
sure,
him a
yeah.
drink and clear up his face and sit him down.
Okay. Yeah, you reach by, finding a small area where water is sort of collected, cupping it in your hands. You sort of splashing it into his face, clearing off some of the soot and the buildup that's happened on his face. He's still sort of barely wheezing at this point, just like he's struggling. I mean, like that's a pretty common thing with people who have been in fires, is that like the effect that the smoke itself can have on their lungs is very, very intense. But it seems like he's, at least for the moment, breathing as best as he can. Like he's not completely out or not breathing or anything of that variety. He's just barely there though. Like his eyes are kind of rolling back, almost like he's gonna fall into unconsciousness at any moment now.
Do I recognize Aldo?
Yes, you do.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
You recognize him as the man that was attacked and stabbed in the street.
When he was getting water, he was just mostly doing it, like here, very matter of factly. As soon as he, sees him start wheezing and sees his face, Blinder steps back and he's just like, just a look of like fucking shock on his face.
Yeah.
And he's like, looks over at Reaper and there he is.
Thank you.
You kind of avert my face away from Reaper and Mercy, just kind of like, let them deal with the situation.
Do I notice anything out of place? Like, are you being obvious, or
Oh,
are
you're talking
you?
to...
Yeah, Doug. Are you being obvious, or?
No, he looks like he's pretty practiced at hiding his intentions and stuff like that. There's the moment where he's shocked, and then he stumbles for what to say, and he says, there's Aldo, and then it seems like he collects himself pretty quickly.
Okay, so nothing I would notice then.
Yeah, just the shock. Like that would probably be standouts the most.
I'm just gonna take it as shock that the person actually survives or is still breathing.
So Mercy looks over and is like, we should get him to a physician or something, make sure he's okay.
Yeah, I'm taking him back to Marlene and Henna right now.
So you just like pick him up, carrying him. Reaper's very strong. She can easily carry Aldo. Just picks him up and starts heading on back around, away from the fire now. And is, I presume, not running or anything like that, but definitely like taking their time, but still trying to get back so that people aren't worried. Yeah, what's up?
Does Reaper look very strong? Does she look like fit, like super fit, or?
She doesn't. She wears a large trench coat, so her and it's black, so her entire frame, you can't really tell if she's muscular or not.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. I didn't know that Reaper was wearing something that hid. There was the one I described her as muscular because there was the one scene where you were at the fighting pits, and so it was like obvious that Reaper was very fit. But yeah, so that's good to know. That Reaper is sort of hiding.
Like, holy shit, she's strong.
Yeah.
And then he's like, just follows along.
Yeah. So following along, you eventually head back, and there's Marlene. And as Marlene and Henna are sitting there, and they're sort of looking away, they see you. They're like, wait, look. And you come walking around, and Henna's like, oh my God, it's Aldo. Yeah, he's okay. And rushes over and starts like checking on him. And he's like, at this point, he's basically like just so close to unconsciousness. He's not speaking or anything. He's just breathing. He probably is maybe even like partially unconscious, but like, you know, you can tell that his eyes are sort of moving, but he's not really able to respond to the stimulus at this point in time. Like, it was just whatever happened, the breathing and everything like that, it seemed like it's affected him, at least currently.
Do you happen to know, I'm going to look over at Blinder, do you happen to know of any underground doctors around here?
No, that's my look at my jacket. Do you think I would know somebody? No, I know no one.
Looks are deceiving, and you're probably deceiving me right now, but if you can find someone that can have an underground doctor here, if you talk to people around here for a minute, I'm going to do the same thing.
I know a little bit. I'm not a doctor, but I do have. I've read a book or two.
Well, you read 2 more books than I did.
I'll walk over to Aldo. Very like the person hugging him. I assume like I know who that is. I'm gonna try to like.
No, it's not the same woman. It's not the same woman.
Oh, it's not? Okay,
It's not.
Okay. So I'll
You don't
walk
see that
up
woman
to,
anywhere around, by the way.
I'll walk up to Aldo and just kind of like, how you doing, sir? You know, like, and sit down and try to I guess I have a study or tinker. I could study him. I would have been I'm not a physician, but I'm passively familiar with people getting harmed. Possibly in the pursuit of these things. So I guess it would be more like study to see what it would be. Let me use my study skill again.
Sure, yeah. Keep in mind, like, just as a sort of reminder, is this game, the onus of how your character goes about things is your decision. So if you feel like an action could be performed with a skill that may seem off, all you have to do is explain how your character might go about it, and you're able to use that skill.
Yeah.
And unless it's something so out there that I'm like, maybe let's bring it back a few steps.
Yeah, I mean,
but in this case, studies are perfect. You're able to study, see how he looks, maybe see if he has any burns or any sort of, immediate, like he needs to get bandages, he needs medicine, that sort of thing, or if it's more internal, in his lungs and things of that nature. So sure, yeah, go ahead and study.
Yay, 5 and a 4.
Okay, so that's a mixed success. We'll just say that the negative effect is that it may the shock of helping this man that now for the second time you have seen in dire straits in the last week or whatever it's been, will negatively affect you to where your whatever next action you attempt to take in a challenge will be one position weakened.
Oh,
because because you're sort of lost in your head about it, right? So if you have another action you want to do, you'll be doing a desperate. If it's risky, you'll be taking a desperate. If it's controlled, you'll be risky.
That's convenient that you asked that or you say that, because I was gonna take another action once I had discerned what specifically I might need to do. I was going to attempt to tinker to do it.
Sure. Well, he, for what you get is that, it seemed like he was relatively smart. Like, having been trapped inside this fire, he seemed like whatever actions he took seemed to be at least somewhat of the right actions. Like, the blanket was damp, so it seemed like he might have dumped it into a basin of water to get it wet, throwing it over himself, and then tried to escape potentially through the wall from the source of the fire or something of that variety. There seemed to be bruises on his body, specifically on his shoulder, where it seemed like he might have smashed his shoulder into something. His shoulder is, in fact, a little bit, like, not a little bit, but it is dislocated, as though he smacked it so hard that it dislocated his shoulder. Otherwise, though, you don't really see any really intense burns on his flesh or anything like that. You presume a lot more of the damage itself is internal, especially in his lungs, because of all the smoke he perhaps inhaled. The fact that he's still breathing leads you to believe that, for the time being, he's not so overwhelmed. At least his lungs aren't to where he like just can't get any oxygen in. There's a shortness of breath, but he is in fact breathing. So perhaps he might have internal, smoke burns or something of that variety. Which the only way to fix that would be through the use of like actual chemical medicine to heal herbs and things like that, right? But yeah.
Yeah, I'll bandage his arm then, and to where it's sitting.
Oh, so you're gonna relocate his shoulder?
Yeah, I'll attempt to use tinkering to do it.
Okay.
Right.
Go ahead.
So I'll grab a piece of device or something like that to try to help me. It's like, oh, well, I could do this, and
okay.
And I will tinker away.
Okay, so Reaper.
So I'm just gonna grab something.
Yeah. So Reaper has presumably set him down somewhere to where he's sitting there.
Yeah. Well, no, I probably pushed him down because I'm in a desperate position here. So I'm,
Well, you wouldn't have pushed him down. What I'm saying is that Reaper had him held up, and so she probably set him down somewhere so that you can look over through him. So you're not like sitting there looking through him while Reaper's holding him, kind of a thing.
Yeah. I rolled a 6.
Hold still. This won't hurt me a bit.
You rolled a what?
Roll a 6. I rolled a 6.
Nice. Okay, so it was a desperate attempt, but it was a full success. So there is no negative consequence necessarily. I mean, there's things, but we'll keep those sort of close to the vest for now. But it is a full success. And
so I'm very quick. I'm very rough with him. I'm very straight to the point because I'm just
Ezra sort of steps in, looks through him, is looking over him, and then all of a sudden just grabs his arm and just crack, and you see a crack, and there's a and to Aldo makes that noise, but there it seems to be, and you've seen this happen before with dislocated shoulders. There's that pop and that snap back into place. So you see that Blinder has relocated Aldo's shoulder appropriately. I think with that moment, though, and the scene, unless you have something you would like to say specifically before we move on, I would like to turn now to Carver.
All right.
Carver was planning to head to meet with Connor. Yes, that was where we had last left you.
Yeah.
Okay, so Carver has been moving through the city, has traveled through the varied areas of town, and then eventually finds themselves in the Six Towers with the address that they had been given by Clyra as to Connor's whereabouts. He's traveling past all these large old mansions in the portion of Six Towers, seeing the large sort of ancestral homes of the 6 most powerful noble families off in the distance. And he's traveling through, not a slums or anything of that variety, but definitely through an area of the lesser noble families and things of that nature. As he's moving through past the varied homes, a lot of them, there are a few that he sees that seems like people may still be living there, or at least taking care of them. And there are a lot of others that seem like they've just been left to become dilapidated. Like no one uses them, no one really goes in or out. They sort of have that like vacant home look, like almost even construction and rain and wind might have like fallen in pieces of them here and there. And so because of that, there's this sort of haunted look to this area of town, because at one point you can sort of imagine how magnificent and beautiful this area of town was originally, and very much like Brightstone is now, how it's very well lit with electric lamps, and the houses are pristine and beautiful. You can sort of imagine in your mind's eyes it would be that this place at one point many years ago was very, very nice. And now it's just been left, and very, very few care for the homes or things that are there. Eventually finding your way through from place to place until he eventually stops at a simple, not small, but definitely not as big as some of these other places. It looks like it might have been, as I had said, a lesser noble family's house. The name of which family it belonged to is knocked off and no longer exists, as though someone either knocked off a plaque or wrote over it or scratched it off or something of that variety. The gate is slightly ajar and sort of hanging sideways a little bit to where you can sidestep through onto what was once a very, very nice cobblestone pathway that's been picked apart by age and weather and steps. Plants have sort of grown wild like weeds, but not like beautiful plants or flowers. Everything that's sort of like barbed and gross is just like a wildness to the grass itself, sort of sits everywhere. The house itself, as he looks at it, is a simple sort of 2-story, large sort of block-shaped building with a canopy and porch coming off of it, but windows have been boarded up and pieces of it are falling off. There's a Victorian sort of spires around the 4 corners, and those at one point had statues, and some of those statues are fallen apart, like their faces are no longer there, or they've completely fallen over and are like barely hanging there. Yes, and so as he moves forward, he steps up the old stairs. Some of the stairs are missing portions or have completely fallen through, and so he sort of avoids one step, eventually finding himself on the porch. Standing in front of the door is slightly ajar. There is no light. It is now later in the afternoon, sort of getting towards early evening, and so darkness has set in, and the only light is the sort of distant light on the streets near old houses that are still being used. So it's sort of silhouetting off of walls, and the darkness is a little more intense here.
Okay. I'll continue to search around for Connor.
Okay.
Kind of calling out like in the darkness. It's like, hey, Connor.
You're doing that inside, or you're doing that from outside?
Inside.
Okay. So you open up the doors. There's that sound, that opening door sound, very creaky, needing to be oiled door frame. You step inside. You see that sections of the floor have holes in them. There's dripping water coming down through the roof. You start to call out to Connor. Connor. Eventually you hear some creaking boards in the back, like some weight being moved, perhaps a scurrying rat upstairs through a wall. And then you see the steps move, and out of the side of your vision you see a form standing over in what looks like there's an opening to sort of you're in the foyer, and there's an opening to what looks like a sort of lounge room that had furniture at one point, but a lot of it is sort of dilapidated, or there's like sheets over it. There's rain falling down like in trickles from the roof. There's a big stain on the roof itself, where the one time there had been like sort of painted texture, there's a big stain across it. And you see Connor standing at the other end of that room, standing there, robed still, not like monk robes, but like just wearing simple sort of beggar street clothes. His hood is drawn back so you can see his face, his older sort of face. There's just a slight sort of smirk on his face as you arrive, and then it sets back into his sort of stoic shyness that you've become used to when interacting with Connor. He's looking towards you and sort of motions you inside, like.
No, I'll come in.
Mm-hmm.
Go to embrace Connor.
You walk up and hug him, and he sort of hugs you back. You can feel that there's sort of a hesitancy in the hug, like at first he's not sure, there's this awkwardness to him, and then as you hug him, he sort of gives you the hug back as well, and pats your back, and then slowly sort of lets go and stands up, like fixing his shirt and everything. How are you, Carver?
Horrible. How are you?
The same. Clyra had mentioned that you were looking for me or something?
Yeah. You had mentioned something about there being no accident to the events that happened to me, to my family.
Yes, I believed I may have found some sort of source. After you had disappeared weeks ago and presumed dead, I thought you dead as well, and then when I reached out to your family to pass on my condolences, their response, although normal, sort of struck me as strange. And so I looked more into it in my own ways. And, by the way, when he's saying this, he's sort of fidgeting awkwardly, like with his hands, kind of like he's having a hard time sort of talking about it. I heard something, and I trust this source, but it didn't tell me a whole lot. It just said, that the person I was looking for was not dead, but was in trouble. It said a vast web surrounds them, and a spider sits on the web, slowly coming towards them. And when I heard this story, I thought of you, obviously, and I presume that the web is something around you, something around your presumed death and disappearance, what happened to you and to your family. I don't personally know much. As I said, I believe what I heard and what I saw.
What is this source? Who is this source? Can I speak to them?
No. I mean, you could try. I don't promise you would be successful.
And why is that? Are these individuals too influential? Like,
I'm not sure who it is that has surrounded you with whatever this is. I'm talking about the source of where I heard this information.
So am I.
Carver, I think you're misunderstanding what I'm saying. The people who told me were dead. And the only people who can speak to the dead and do it with any sort of safety would be a whisper. They sought me out, these spirits did. I know this sounds crazy because the presumed thing is all spirits are evil, seeking death and energy. But I have seen and spoken with a spirit that did not attack me. It did not feed on me. And I had no charm or protection. It existed here inside the lightning barrier. And it traveled to and from the ghost field easily, as though stepping through a door.
I'm gonna say that what you're saying is absolutely asinine. But I am choosing to trust you until you give me a reason not to, because the things that I've gone through are also equally as asinine. And had I not gone through them, I would not trust anything that you are saying right now.
Whether you believe this or not, I hope you understand that I'm just sharing this with you because I care about you.
I am choosing to believe you. But I want to know more. I want to get to the bottom of this. If what happened to me and my family, wasn't an accident. I need to know who's responsible. I need to hold them accountable.
I understand. I don't know who's responsible. And as I said, those who shared it with me only shared brief glimpses. As I said, a vision. I'm familiar with the strange, but I am not a whisper. In order to speak to them, you would have to find them first.
There was an individual earlier this evening who warned me. Said something was following me. Do you think that individual might be a whisper?
What did they say specifically?
Something at the time that I thought was oddly on the dot and yet cryptic.
Which was?
Specific words I'm failing to remember, but it was that something follows me. And that it will lead to other things, I think. Is there something following me? Can you see these things?
I'm not a whisper, Carver. I have something that can help, though. Since my experience, though, I've been frightened. I was told by the thing that sought me out, who didn't share a name with me, that others would come to find me, and they may not wish me well. It told me of an item I could find, and I thought it was superstitious, but it seems to do the trick. I keep it on my person. It can sense the presence of the field and amplifications of the field, he says as he pulls out a small little, like, almost talisman looking thing. It's a strange shape. There's carvings across it. It seems to be crafted from wood of some variety, and the engravings themselves seem to be shapes of faces coming out of it, almost like, you see a chin in one part, and then out the other side is another face that's like upset, like angry or something, and it's just this little hanging piece of wood with all of these faces carved into it. And there seems to be stones set into it of a very dark color on either side that are set into the wood itself, and it hangs from a simple sort of leather piece of rope, almost like a necklace that he would wear.
How does it work?
When you put it on, you can feel the presence.
What does the presence feel like?
It's hard to describe. It's like...
Is it like a cold chill and being watched from a direction you can't see?
Something like that. Like when you're at your house, like in a home, and you're about to leave, and you're like, did I leave the kettle on? And you have that sort of back of your mind impulse, and you start to worry and think about it. It has that sort of effect. It makes you feel like something is there. You're like, is someone nearby? You get this sort of sense for a second. At least that's how I'm told it functions in some variety. I'm not familiar with whatever it is. Wear it, though.
I understand.
Here. And he hands you the talisman with the thing.
And I'll put it on.
Mm-hmm. In that moment, you immediately feel, as it passes over your head and touches onto your body, you immediately feel like a shiver, almost like a cold breeze travel over your back, past your neck, setting the hairs on end. It travels through, around your throat to your chest, and then immediately there's this sort of warmth following the cold that immediately sets in, almost like kind of like icy hot, like you're cold, like kind of cold, and then all of a sudden you feel warm, and you feel almost like a touch, like something reach out and hold your hand, like something reaching out from behind you.
I'll kind of turn and look.
And there's nothing there.
And there's nothing there?
No.
Something here. I need to go and find... God, what was his name? I gotta go find Blinker.
Well, if that is the man that will help you, I wish you good luck in finding this Blinker.
I'll take the necklace off and hand it back to you.
No. Keep it. Perhaps it can help you in this.
Put it back on.
I'm only going to be here for a few more days. If you need me again, you can find me closer to the docks. I've decided it's no longer safe here. There seems to be movement happening here in the 6th tower. Something is going on. I was told that I am surrounded by danger and darkness.
I'll send Clyra a missive with the new location when you get settled.
I will.
When it's safe.
Of course. Be safe, Carver.
Be well, friend.
And he reaches out and shakes your hand, like grasping your hand.
Shake his hand and make my way out.
Mm-hmm. And with that, just a quick check-in. Where are you planning to head back to, Carver?
I gotta go to the last place that I saw Blinker.
Which was the Dunslow Fighting Pits?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. Hopefully you'll find Blinker there. The Blinker thing, I tried to be serious as Connor, but it was so hard. Like, it was absolutely so hard. I was like, yes, I hope you find this Blinker.
You almost lost me.
Yeah. Oh, that was so good. Okay,
that was good.
We will now move to Ryan. Martin has been traveling from the area of Coleridge that they had interacted with Chael. They've now been traveling through the town, finding their way to the district of the 6 Towers, to the address they had been given. They come before a sort of a larger, dilapidated mansion, very similar to the description I had given Carver regarding the sort of nature of this place.
All right.
There is a number address with a street address, but, like the streets, some of the signs themselves are sort of taken. There is no name outside. It is not like the largest 6 noble families size house, by the way, which are like huge, imagine huge fortresses sort of a thing. It is sort of more medium. It is 3 towers, and there's a few other buildings there. Like there might have been like a place for them to keep their carriages or buggies or something of that variety. The fence is an old like wrought iron fence with poking like arrowheads kind of posts going up off of it. The door and the gate is chained, thick with chains, with a lock on it. There is a poster on one of the columns nearby to the gate that says condemned, and it's set there.
Looking at the front of the house and kind of going kind of side to side to where I can see both like sides, or as many sides as I can. Looking to see if I see the glint of any light coming from windows, or any kind of signs of life from inside the house.
You don't currently see any light from inside the house, but as you make your way along the fence line looking onto the property, you eventually see what for a second looks like a glint of light out behind the house in one of the buildings back there. It is a very quick sort of flash, like someone might have uncovered a candle for a second, and there's this sort of warm glow into the windows, and then it disappears. Perhaps
Okay.
like a candle was there and got blown out or something, or someone was covering it and using it or something of that variety.
Right. Quick look up and down the fence. Do I see anywhere that looks like weak enough to where I could maybe break a bar and get through, or am I gonna have to climb this thing?
Probably have to climb it or break the chain on the gate.
Oh, how old's the chain?
It seems pretty new. It's not like brand spanking new. It seems a little dirty and old, like it's been here for some time. But it doesn't seem like it's like falling apart or anything like that. I mean, you could break it with enough strength, but it might take a bit of time and definitely cause some noise.
Right. Instead, I'm just gonna follow the fence
Okay.
along the side to where I can get more, like, closer to the building where that light was.
Okay.
Like trying to find a blind spot along the fence so that when my clunky ass climbs over the fence, I'm not going to be too visible.
There are on the far side, as you start walking around the property, on the far side there is like a wall of bushes that are set up to sort of give them privacy between them and what was at their time their neighbors, which are sort of set off to the side. So that seems like the only area where sightline might be blocked, because directly from the street there are like no bushes covering the property. There's just that thick like spaces between the wrought iron fence, and then you see the large house, and then there are bushes sort of on either side to visually cordon them off from their neighbors, giving them a bit more privacy, etc.
Right.
So one of those far sides would be sort of what you're looking for here.
Right. Well, I will make my way over to one of the bushy areas.
Mm-hmm.
And is it like bushes that cover the wall, or is it just a wall of
It is
hedge?
like a hedge that is very tall on just on the opposite side of the fence. So it's like you would climb up over the fence, and then it's bush there almost all the way up to the top.
Okay. Well, I will make my way over there, and I will climb up over the fence, trying to find like the sturdiest bars so they don't, creak and rattle, or, trying to be sneaky.
Okay. Go ahead and give me a challenge. I'll call for a challenge in this moment,
Okay.
because you are attempting to do something that, although would be a very simple task, because climbing it's not too hard. It's the matter of it being an old fence and you trying to do so silently is the challenge.
Well, the skill that fits is prowl, and I
Sure.
have absolutely no dots in that.
Okay, so the way that works in this game is that if you have 0 dots, you have to roll 2 dice and keep the lowest, and that is what you roll, and that is what your roll is. Or, as I've said before, you can spend 2 stress to gain a dice, and it gets rid of that rule. You're not officially a crew yet, so I've been fine with if people wanted to spend stress to help each other, but because you're not a team yet, you're not really working in teamwork, so you can't really gain dice from other members of the cast right now. But you could take a devil's bargain of some variety, perhaps.
I think I'm just going to risk it.
You're going to risk the 2 dice, keep the lowest?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We'll see what happens.
Keep in mind, if you fail on this roll, this is when you critically fail. This is a critical failure.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I got a 1 and a 2, so...
Okay.
So it's a 1.
It's a 1, yes. So you go climbing up the fence. You are climbing it. And then as you're climbing up, there is a moment that you slip, and you go to kick your foot into the fence in order to catch your weight, and you kick the bar off of the fence. It goes smashing off the fence, slamming into the bush, hitting into the other areas of the fence, and just ching, 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 like just jingling all the way down, making a huge amount of racket, slamming, like it. Everyone in the neighborhood knows that something really, really loud just happened right where you are. You're able to get up, at this point, you're basically up to the top of the fence, and you're now sitting up there, looking over the bush, and you see in that moment, as you're sort of peering out over, and there's that noise, a person, a shape, a silhouette in the far distance of the yard of this place, is looking directly at you.
Okay.
And then they turn and they run into into what seems like the back of the house that you can't see. It's around a corner.
Okay. I will unceremoniously hop down off the top of the fence.
Okay.
And I will start bolting off that direction, trying to look and see if I can run by, pick up like a baseball sized rock.
Sure. There's like rocks. There was sort of like a rock, like driveway sort of thing, because it wouldn't have been mud. So it was like, think of like gravel, but a little bit more primitive gravel that's been set into it, like areas of cobblestone that have fallen apart that are now basically more like gravelly than they are official cobblestone. So yeah, as you're running, you could find a rock very easily. Yeah.
And I mean like a good like hucking rock.
Hucking rock. Okay,
Like
well, you're not going to probably be able to find a big rock while you're running, and you might have to stop for a second and be like, okay, where? Oh, look, there's one, and then grab it.
Okay, well, I will take that like half second it takes to kind of.
You notice that there are some bigger rocks near the house. There's this sort of like garden coming off the house, at least where like flowers might have been at one point, and there's these bigger sort of rocks set into the soil there, creating a visual barrier, but they're all over the place. So they're like almost like big, like baseball-sized rocks that you're like, oh, they're perfect, and you grab the rock.
If I can grab 2 of them, I will.
Sure.
Okay, yeah. I grab 2 of them, and then I start bolting off toward the back of that particular building.
Okay. You head around the back, and you see that there's a what looks like a like sort of service entrance to the back of the house, where presumably like butlers and things like that would use to get in and out of like a kitchen area, you presume, or something of that variety. And then there is, over around the other corner, you see a large opening as sort of a cellar entrance, and the doors are swung open.
Rap. Do I hear running?
No.
I will go over to the cellar doors and just kind of stand there looking over the doors and say, just kind of into the darkness, hello, I don't know if you know who I am, but currently I am not here to hurt you. I want to talk. There are things that you may know that I need to know. Can we talk?
You hear some, you don't hear a response, but inside you hear some faint, like, murmuring or something. Like,
is it a staircase that goes down to?
Yeah, it's a staircase.
The cellar?
That seems to descend off into darkness where you can't really see anything.
Shit. Looking to kind of head over to the service entrance, still looking at the cellar entrance.
Well, the cellar entrance is around a corner. So if you go up, are you talking about you go up to the service entrance, or are you talking about you're like standing in the yard looking at the service entrance and looking around the corner?
I'm trying to keep an eye on both.
Yeah, then you would have to be in the yard. You can't like go up to one door in order to see both, because like I said, the service entrance will say is on the back of the door, and then around that far corner, like around that other corner, because you came from one side, here's the service entrance, and then you went around the other way, there's the cellar entrance, right? On the opposite side.
Well, you know what? I will descend down the stairs of the cellar.
Okay, so you sit there for a second, you look at the service entrance, you don't see anything inside the windows or anything move, you don't see any light in there, and then you turn over to the cellar entrance, and are you like running? Are you just like slowly walking?
I walk. I walk with purpose, but with, I don't know, like as like a gentle a body posture as I can make. Though it's still kind of awkward and clumsy because I'm not used to it. So just kind of walk down the stairs slowly. Still have 2 giant rocks in my hands.
As you walk down and you're stepping into the cellar, step after step, there's this creaking of old stairs. It starts to become pitch black. As you're sort of reaching up to feel where the roof is, because at first you kind of come through an area where you can feel the roof. Eventually it descends off to the point where you can't even feel the roof anymore. It's larger than probably 8 feet or more, normal standard thing. The wood is a hard packed brick. There is things, nothing seems to be directly in your way, but you eventually find your way to what seems like a shelf or something, like a clothed something. Like a maybe a cabinet or something, like old furniture covered in cloths of some variety. There's a dripping in the space. And then there is also a faint murmuring on the other side of the room.
No. In the dark, I will start heading toward the murmuring.
Okay.
I have one hand out.
The only light coming in, by the way, right now is from the open cellar doors. And as you're sitting there and you start moving towards it with a little bit of light, and you can barely even see yourself, the doors slam shut of the cellar doors. And then you hear a chain jingling and rapping, what you presume is the doors.
As I hear that chain jingling and rapping, I'm going to bolt straight for where I remember it was. If you would like me to roll.
Yes, because you are completely blind at this point. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see here. Let's see. That would be like survey, I'm assuming.
Sure. Yeah, survey would work.
Which I have no dots in.
Okay.
In this case, I will take a devil's bargain.
Okay.
To find out where the stairs are, because my intent is to bolt toward the stairs, bolt up the stairs, burn not to be trifled with, to break apart the doors before any lock gets put on the chain.
Okay. So what is the devil's bargain then? What is the thing that will happen no matter what?
Regardless if I succeed or not, I get some kind of injury.
Okay, sure.
So that means I get 1 dice.
Yes,
to do this with,
you
yes?
get 1 dice, yes. Okay. Instead of the roll 2, take the lowest.
Right. So 1 die, 5.
Oh, mixed success. There you go. Nice.
Woot.
So you are going to, you start running towards the door. The door is above you. As the stairs get smaller and smaller, and in order to, you can't just push up, you have to sort of get underneath. You still hear the chain going, and as you're approaching, you hear something snap, like a lock, snap. And in that moment, you go to slam up, and the door, as you hit it, shudders and breaks, not completely open, but the wood itself, the areas you smacked, are creaking and breaking as your fists go shooting through the door. You don't see anyone outside directly. As you perhaps pull your hands back, you look and you don't see anyone there. From the punch itself, even though you're very, very strong, we'll say that you, from being surprised, from the adrenaline, we'll say that you're what is it? Rattled, I think is what the condition is, or something of that variety. Shaken. Okay. For a moment, because you're kind of you're surprised by the trap, so we'll say that is a condition that you have on you, or perhaps actually, you know what a better one is? Fatigue, because you've been going and going and going and going and going and not giving up. So let's call the negative effect fatigue, because now in this moment, your adrenaline's hitting, but you've still just been going and going and no stopping, and so the fatigue is now starting to weigh on you. So you slam those 2 holes through, and then you hear a spark behind you. And in that moment that you hear the spark, you hear almost like something turning on, like a generator, and light bulbs in the space start popping on. A few of them even pop and break, and then a few lights actually light up and you see light bulbs set in the cellar underneath, behind you. And behind you see what looks like cages set across the space. The thing that you had bumped into earlier looks like one of those cages that's covered with some sort of tarp or blanket. And you realize now that the murmuring you were hearing is from a form. You can just see a hand or something poking out of the very bottom of that cage behind you.
Currently running through his mind of not knowing who's in the cage, not really caring who's at the cage at the moment, but knowing that somebody specifically tried to trap him, and they're probably getting away, and the time it's going to take. Nope. Goes over to the cage. grabs the fabric, pulls the fabric off in one smooth motion.
You see like a huddled form of a woman. You can't see her face. She's in rags.
Do one quick kind of look. Do I see any person down in the cellar?
No, as the lights have now cracked on, you notice there's no one else there. There's a hole in the floor, like the ceiling above you, which is the floor of the thing above. There is a hole there off in a corner, which is rather large, and you just see the light poking off into it, and it seems like there's a hole off into an empty room of some variety. And you notice also that on the other side of the room, there is a door that is a thick wooden, presumably wooden, maybe even reinforced door that is shut, and you don't see the lock on this side, so you're not
So
sure
either
if
there
it's
is
locked
no
or
lock or if it's on the other side.
or it's on the other side. Yes.
Right. Turn back to the cage, look inside.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I'm not here to hurt you. Who are you? Look at me.
For a moment, you wonder if perhaps this was your cousin. Like there's that moment where you're like,
I hope.
Yeah, that hope. And you're looking down and then the woman turns her face, slowly looking up like she's frightened, and it's not Amanda's face. You see a woman probably in her late 40s, early 50s, who seems like they've been here for some time, at least a week or more. And they don't have any like obvious wounds or anything on them, but it looks like they've been, they've sort of been left with a piss bucket. Their clothes are sort of in shambles or rags from like just being in the weather and not being cleaned. It seems like they're huddled away, like they're frightened and worried that you're going to hurt them or something of that variety.
Mm-hmm. This is the only other human that's down here in the cellar?
Yeah, all the other cells are empty.
Okay. Seeing that it's not Amanda,
Mm-hmm.
just has a bit of an eye twitch.
Mm-hmm.
Turns, screams like he's screaming at God himself,
Mm-hmm.
and takes one of the rocks and hucks it against the opposite wall behind him.
Mm-hmm.
Not toward the cage or anything like that. Just as hard as he can.
Just sort of one of the empty walls. Yeah.
You know.
You hear a voice after
Starts-
that happens, and you're sort of set in the silence. You hear a voice come down at you through the hole, and it says, "I have a gift for you, friend." And then a man's body that seems bloodied and beaten, comes falling through the hole, hitting onto the ground. You hear bones snap, and it lands.
Walk over, kind of look at him. Can I recognize him without turning him over to see a face or anything?
You've never seen this man before in your life.
What's he look like?
Uh,
Just random nondescript person?
an average-looking Scovelander.
Kind of looks back up to the hole.
Mm-hmm.
How is this supposed to be a present for me? Explain that.
You don't hear anything. You don't see anything.
Listen here, you cowardly chicken shit piece of motherfucker.
You hear some whistles in the distance, like coming down the street. Like off through the hole, through the building, way off in the distance.
Hell no. I will go over to the cage. How is it locked?
There's like a padlock on it. There's like a
Okay.
shutter thing that goes down and pushes through, and then the lock is set through that.
Okay. Can I undo it, or does it look like it requires a key?
It looks like it requires a key, yeah.
Okay. I will take the other rock
Mm-hmm.
that I have.
Mm-hmm.
I will burn 2 stress.
Mm-hmm. How much stress do you have left, by the way?
Well, I've taken 4, so I have 5 left.
Well, how much did you spend last game, though, too? 'Cause
2.
remember, you activated your power 2 times, I want to say?
Once. Just
Twice.
once.
Didn't you activate... Oh, didn't you activate it for breaking the dude's finger? In the first
No,
scene?
I said I was just going to roll, and even if I failed, it would still
Oh,
carry.
right. Okay, so then, yeah, you're right. Just
Yeah,
once. Okay, cool.
right. So just once.
Yep.
So I will take that, and with not to be trifled with, take the other rock, and it's going to destroy the rock,
Sure.
more than likely.
Well,
But,
it's
you know,
going to
just
take a
bang.
bit. It's going to take a bit to break the lock.
That's
Now
fine.
that, because you're using not to be trifled with, though, it's going to take significantly less time than it would have taken if you just sat here smashing this thing with the rock. So you
Right.
start swinging at it like a logger hacking at a tree, just blam, blam, blam. You're just hitting it and hitting it,
And
furiously hitting it, and the woman
and
is
there's
like
no-
standing in the back, like she's kind of covering her ears. Oh, what?
There's no roar. There's no scream. There's no real grunts. It's just that silent, burning, hatred style rage. And he is just like, in his mind, he is picturing an amorphous face of whoever it is, or everyone that took Amanda, and he is just hammering and hammering and hammering
Yeah.
and hammering at this lock.
Yeah. And as he goes and he starts to hear it breaking and smashing and changing, he starts to hear steps upstairs in the floor above him, like mini steps come marching into the house, like, and they start searching through the house like they're looking for him. They're like, where is he? You know, you hear them calling out, things like that. And he's just smacking. And then eventually the lock breaks and someone says, downstairs! And you start to hear steps coming down what sounds like inside stairway inside the house on the other side of the wall from where the door is. The other door.
Right. Take the lock off, open the door, say, lock's open, the rest is on you. And I go back over to where the cellar doors are.
She stops and reaches out and grabs your hand and says, don't leave me here.
Well, then don't stop me. Follow me. And I start, and I grab, and I start pulling, I pull her over to the cellar doors.
And she follows you. Like she's struggling, but she follows you.
Yeah. Well, I'll kind of like grab her, like kind of hoist her up a little bit.
Yeah, like kind of
walk
like
over toward
holding her. Okay.
Yeah. Set her on the stairs. Like, cover your eyes. You don't want splinters.
She does. She
And,
covers her eyes with her other hand.
And then I'm gonna take my hands, and I'm not gonna use not to be trifled with.
Okay.
But I would like to make a rec roll.
Sure.
To finish opening up a hole from where I punched, where I punched in the doors big enough for the both of us to squeeze out.
Sure. I'm gonna say that because you've used not to be trifled with a few times, I'm gonna say that you're breaking the lock thing. Not to be trifled with is still sort of in effect, right? You've got that surge of adrenaline. You've already used the action to bust into it, almost basically shattering the lock, but it didn't break all the way through. So I'm going to say that force of will and that drive, I won't even need you to roll for this because you've already been, put in the work and the time and like the adrenaline, and you just start smashing your way through the door trying to break the lock until you eventually break through one side of where the chain's attached to the latch outside. You break it through, you pull it free, and then you throw it out. Now the two doors are unhinged together from the chain. You're able to push the door. As it opens, splinters come flying off of it in pieces. She's still covering her eyes. There's a few that hit you and land. You notice that there are no blue coats around this door, but you see some off around the corner down past the building to one side. You hear some more whistles and things, and you hear the footsteps and the jangling of keys or something of that variety happening inside the cellar on the other side of the door, like someone's unlocking the lock or whatever is going on.
Okay. I will look down to the person that I'm with, the woman that I'm with. Like, all right, now, honey, time to go. Let's go. I said move.
She's following you as best she can as you hold her.
I'll just kind of sling her over her shoulder.
Okay.
And I am booking it. Like,
okay. Which direction are you going? Are you going towards the blue coats that you saw towards the front of the yard, or are you going to try and find exit out the back end where you currently sort of are?
I'm gonna try and find a way to clear out of here without getting caught.
Okay.
So I'm going through the back.
Okay, so you start
Somewhere
heading
down the
off
back.
past the building where you had originally seen the light, and you realize that it is some sort of like shed or supply shed or something like that. And you look off into one corner past the bush, and you see what looks like there is a hole back there. Like someone had already taken out pieces of the bars themselves, and there's sort of an area where a person could probably squeeze through if they hunkered down, and could
Okay.
get out of the wall.
Okay. Well, I will get up to the wall. I will set her down.
Mm-hmm.
Be like, "Do you trust the blue coats, or do you want to come with me?"
I don't trust the blue coats.
I'll take it.
They're the
And
ones
I'll start trying to help.
She starts
push her
saying, and
through.
then you cut her off, and she just moves with you.
Yeah. Just be like, "Nope, let's come on."
Yeah, and so you
Yes or
push her
no
through, and
question.
she squats down and like sort of crawls her way through the hole, and then afterwards you crawl through, and she like once you get back, she puts her arm back around you, and you start helping her move down the street. You disappear off into the darkness of the alleyways. It didn't seem like the Bluecoats were expecting you to exit from this place. Like perhaps they didn't even know it was here. You hear whistles and searching. They're like, maybe over here, and they're still looking over in that area. And for the time being, it seems like you've escaped from what might have been a trap had you not been quick to act and willing to call upon your last reserves of energy in order to make your escape a reality.
Tell me about it. As we walk away, I will take off my raincoat and, drape her with it. Even though it's wet, it's still better than the rags I'm assuming she was wearing.
She thanks you, of course, and she
Not a problem.
She keeps saying that a lot. She's like, I'm so thankful. Thank you so much.
That's all right. You can thank me when we get somewhere safe.
Take
walking...
us to Char Hollow. It's the place that's safe.
You'd think that.
I have a good friend there who I'm pretty sure is in trouble. His name is Aldo. I've been missing for... They took me several days ago. I was with him, and then he was attacked, and some bluecoats came and arrested me. And I've been gone since then. They've had me in that cellar there. I didn't even know where I was until you came and found me.
Bluecoats took you.
Yeah, a big man, a lieutenant of some type, and a woman. I think she was in charge, though.
All right. Well, hey, once you've had a chance to calm down, I'm going to need you to describe this woman to me in as explicit detail as you can.
I can't. Just take me to Char Hollow. I know I'll be safe there. I have family there and some other people that can make sure we're safe.
All right. As you start making our way down the road, start picking the wood splinters out of my hands.
Okay.
Trying to clean myself up to make it look like I didn't just break someone out of prison.
Sure. Yeah.
And then I will find a cab and it'd be like, look, I will pay you like. I just kind of take it and I throw like the last of my money in his hand. Take us to the address she tells you to go to, and if we could have as little interaction with people, that would be excellent.
Cabby gives you that nod, and then off goes the goat.
Come on, and it just turns into just kind of holding her and making sure she doesn't like.
You can start to say there's definitely some crying, but you can also tell that she's extremely fatigued. Like she's just been in a state of fear and anxiety for days, not knowing what was going to happen. Eventually, as she realizes that you're not going to hurt her, she at one point during the ride from Six Towers to Char Hollow, she just passes out in the cab with you.
Okay.
Just like falling asleep.
I let her fall asleep, and I don't, and not to be obvious, just to make the ride there, I do, keep a vigil.
Keeping an eye out, making sure,
Making sure
maybe even pop up the cabbie top just to that sort of thing, just so people can't see you as easy. Sure, yeah. Okay, moving back now to our other scene, Reaper and Blinder, having just rescued Aldo from the fire, having sought out medical attention for him. Some time has passed since then, and physicians have found their way there and started setting up, like, in some homes of people that are like, yeah, you can use our home, have started setting up sort of like beds and cots for people that might have been in the fire in order to give them immediate care. Aldo is laying in one of those cots. He's at this point completely unconscious. They have applied, given him salves and medicines. They fed him some sort of mixture that they made to drink. And you're all sort of, I don't know if you're standing nearby, but you're all in some way nearby, whether you're inside the room with Aldo, with the hurried bustling of physicians moving around, the 3 or 4 of them that are here. Outside, some of the bodies are being laid to rest at this point as the crows started cawing and the bells of the crematorium rang out. Eventually, a few wardens appeared sometime after and are giving last rites to those who had passed in the flames, staying a ways away from those individuals who are actually, in fact, living still and having care provided for them. The fire stations, like very much in that old style, are sort of out there fighting the fires. Think of fire people or firemen, whatever the case may be, as like gangs themselves, almost like bluecoats. And so there's territory disputes and things like that. So there are a few different firemen from different places that have appeared and helped to fight the fire as it spread out. But there's this sort of argument going on that people are like, nobody cares, just fight the fire. There's just quite a bit of chaos basically happening just outside the door of where the physicians are taking care of these people. There are still fires going on, but it seems like they've been able to, by starting to break holes in the houses, kind of creating a space between where the fire had started and the fuel that it would eventually burn towards. By cutting that off and like starting to break away pieces of houses and take away their foundations, they're hoping that the fire will no longer be able to spread to other houses and continue spreading through Wicker Street and through the area of Char Hollow. Yeah, go ahead.
Blinder is sitting on the edge of one of the canals on the opposite side of where the corpses are laying, and out of the sight of those around.
Sure.
He's back is turned towards the direction of Aldo and the others, and he is trying to, he's sort of like rocking back and forth, just trying to keep focus because he's hearing a lot. The chaos is definitely more profound for him.
Yes. There's that sort of sense of sensory overload after his experience with calling upon the ghost field. He's been sort of overwhelmed, and then with all the things going on, the fire, the smoke, the yelling, the people coming and going, I mean, there's definitely a sense of sensory overload. So
there was a lot of new ghosts too. So he's definitely avoiding
He hasn't necessarily seen any specific ghosts that came out of bodies yet from those of the dead. But yeah, there's definitely that sense of loss and death is sort of hanging on the air itself. It's almost palpable to Blinder. He can sort of feel it setting into the area.
And to anybody who looks over at him directly, obviously there's a lot of people around, so but anybody who looks at him directly, any of the other characters, for instance, it's definitely like, he's like kind of shaking a little, and he does not seem at ease. And he's keeping his face decidedly turned away from Aldo.
Okay. Well, Aldo's inside the building, laying in a bed, seemingly unconscious. So.
He's aware of the direction where Aldo is, and he's keeping his face like directly opposite.
Okay.
Of that, he's not turning at any point or in the scene.
Okay.
Unless he's forced to, of course.
Of course. What is Reaper doing?
Reaper's inside with Aldo, waiting to probably speak to him if he comes to, or speak to Marlene, or speak to Henna.
Okay. Well, Marlene is sitting in a chair nearby, of course giving space to the physicians to take care of Aldo. But as they seem to have basically they're starting to get to that point where they've done everything they can. They say just rest and time is what he needs. I mean, he was already still, recovering from his wound. I mean, this hopefully didn't cause any more complications or anything like that.
Is Mercy in there too, or is she outside?
She's outside, outside the door, a little ways away, kind of keeping an eye on Blinder. Like she sees him off near the canalway, sort of keeping him in her sights. And also she seems to be like sort of looking around, but you can tell she's trying to keep her intentions, whatever they might be, sort of hidden. She occasionally glances inside to see how things are going, but is more or less sort of keeping her eyes on the crowd.
I'll look over to Marlene. We need to relocate him to somewhere that only we know about.
Marlene looks at you and comes over and is like, "What do you mean? What do you mean?"
What I was going to talk to you about was that substance that I showed you when we were looking for Aldo. I took it off of someone that seems to have it out for me.
Okay.
So this was intentional, of course.
You think so?
But they're trying to kill Aldo, and I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know why either. But I mean, if you think it'd be safest to move Aldo away from here, we can do that.
I think it'd be better for the neighborhood, and it'd be better for him.
Sure. Do you have a place in mind? Or should I
ask around? I'm not really sure.
Okay. She says, and she puts a hand on your shoulder.
She pats her on the back. I should go check on Blinder, see how he's doing.
Sure, yeah. That guy seems to be, not to be mean, but seems sort of out of it.
He seems kind of skittish.
Yeah, I mean, not everybody's used to death.
That's fair.
I'll keep an eye on Aldo for now, though, if you want to go check in on Blinder, right?
Thanks. So I'm coming to find you, Blinder.
So you go walking out through the door. Like I said, the several houses down is where, away from the fire, safely away, is where, people have been set, like survivors of the fire, nearby people, and they're taking care of them. Some are sitting outside in sort of set up tents almost, like a quick old tent with just a top on it and keep the rain out. And some of them have been invited into people's homes, and like
it's like
I said,
a triage.
basically sort of a temporary triage just for the meantime until they can help deal with it, until they can move these people to, if the wounds are really serious and they have time, or the people pay well enough, they might move them towards the universities, towards Charter Hall, where the actual like medical sort of schools are, and those like real doctors are. But for now, the people who have shown up are locals who work in the medical field, or students, or whatever the case may be. Like neighbors helping neighbors, basically, kind of a thing.
Yeah, Blinder's he's faced within like sight. He didn't leave.
Yeah.
The sight of anybody. He's just sitting there.
Okay. I'll pass by Mercy and just give her a thanks.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll keep going.
She gives you one of those. She's like...
Then I'll keep walking over and take a seat next to him without asking.
I'll start as somebody sits down next to me, and I'll look over at Reaper and, just like glance, So, do you need something?
No, just came to see how you were doing. You're shooken up.
Yes, that is close enough description. Are we going to be going soon?
We have to relocate people, but I think we can arrange to be going? You want to go back to the pits, or where are we going?
I don't know. I'm merely a passenger on this ride.
Oh, I see. I guess I'll pilot. Um, so we have to figure out why they're trying to kill my friend.
Somebody's trying to kill your friend?
Well, yeah, they set this place on fire to kill him, and previously they stabbed him.
Oh, they stabbed him, you say? I see. Do we know who is we or they? Who is the they?
If you ask the fuzz, I stabbed him. If you ask me, I have no idea. It was said it was I can't remember, a very tall gentleman.
Oh, tall. That's there's quite a few individual. I'm tall, for instance. I mean, could be anybody really. Do we have any more information about this?
Not a single clue. I have to find out who did it, or get Aldo to tell the fuzz that I didn't do it, because I have to now figure this out before they find me.
So many stabbings. How do you know that this was they?
What do you mean by they?
How do you know that this is a they? Is there an? I mean, you don't know who stabbed them. You know, only you can describe them as tall. It seems to me that there's no conclusive information dictating that it is a they that stabbed your friend. Now, maybe the fire is a different story. That is quite remarkable. But I would certainly say that stabbings happen quite commonly in this area of town, wouldn't you say?
They happen often, but if some. We'll talk more about this when we're in a more secluded area.
Secluded. Yes, that sounds quite
Frightening.
Safe. Who is all going to be there?
Well, I assume you, Mercy, Marlene, and myself.
Oh. Excellent. At which point he'll kind of collect himself, like very visibly collecting himself, like and he'll gesture, towards Reapers. Like, well, lead the way. I'll follow up. I just need a minute here to catch my breath, and I'll tag along. Your friend should be. Yeah. Yes. I'll follow. I'll follow along. Don't worry.
I have a question. How did you know where he was?
He will visibly freeze. Deductive reasoning. Yes, there's quite much information that could be garnered from even a simple boot print. It's I read a book.
With that kind of reaction, I'm not buying it. But if you don't want to share, that's fine too.
I don't think it's really pertinent. It's just your friend's alive.
You don't have to explain.
And he'll just wait until Reaper gets up, and then, when he'll glance and peek over, and when they have obviously started moving somewhere, he'll get up and walk along, like making it obvious that he's following along, still trying to keep his face from Aldo's direction, kind of, and definitely the direction of the dead bodies. Like, he's definitely like not looking that way at all.
There's a moment There's a moment where as he's walking through the crowd, he hears a soft whisper again. And it sort of is moving through the crowd, and then as he looks towards what he presumes is its source, he sees one of the wardens there wearing their official sort of clothing, which seems to be almost like monkly looking robes that are held tight to their, they're wearing like pants that seem very loose to provide freedom of movement or something of that variety. They're wearing simple shoes and robes, and you see in the opening of where their face would be are these bronze masks that are featureless other than marks or scratches. There's 2 slit eye holes that barely open, nose slits as well, and then a very small mouth slit. And as you hear this whispering and you look over towards its source, you see a kneeling warden stand up and looks almost directly on the same line of sight from where you believe you heard the whisper from. And then for a second, your gaze and their gaze make contact. And it just stares at you. It's emotionless mass just staring what it seems like almost into you for a second.
When he sees the mask turning and he hears the whisper and his mind's racing, so he's not really quite connecting necessarily maybe what's going on, but he will, only thing he's thinking about is he'll just muster as much calm as he can, which he's fairly using to do in moments like this, like high pressure moments. He can, he'll steady himself, hold his breath, and when he leaves, he'll realize that he's been holding his breath for like a minute.
Okay. He's almost like passing out kind of a thing.
Yeah, he's like,
okay.
But he doesn't look like he's freaking out. He's just like, I'm going to get through this. And, and he'll just try to make it seem as though the gaze is just passing over. Just like he's like,
like he has nothing to hide.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah. And so as he does that, as their gazes meet for a moment, he's sort of slowly falling into that role as he has done many times before, just naturally sort of tries to breathe, loosen up, and just continues walking. For a moment, Reaper, you see out of the corner of your eye, it seems like Blinder is the calmest that he's ever been. He's not ticking. He's not moving. There seems to be a sort of grace to his steps for a moment that you haven't seen before. There's no hesitation. It seems like for whatever purpose he's in, at least for a few seconds, and then he sort of falls back into it as you descend further into the crowd. But there's a moment of something that you can see clearly happens to Blinder, and then it's gone as he disappears with you into the crowd. The gaze of the warden, its emotionless mask, having met your gaze for a second, you looked away. It just continued looking, and then as you could feel it sort of out of the corner of your eye, like the gaze was still resting on you for a moment. And then you see its head turn back to whatever it was doing, and it seems to be engaging in some sort of something with another warden. You disappear into the crowd, heading back towards the building. Both of you find yourselves outside, Mercy just sitting there. Marlene comes walking outside from inside. Physicians don't really want me inside. They say I'm getting in the way. I mean, I get it.
I don't trust it. We should have somebody in there. Let's go talk to the physicians, because
I asked them if we could move him, and they said if we want to, that's our choice. But they don't know what sort of condition he'll be in without proper care, or whatever the case may be. But they've done everything they said they can do for now.
What do you suggest?
I think if you're worried about Aldo, that moving him to somewhere secret would probably be the better place. And we can get medicine on our own, perhaps pay someone on the sly to come in and check in on him,
Yeah, we can do that. Let's get some people to watch this place until we can get him moved. And I'll pay them.
I have to be real, though, with you, Reaper. Whatever this is, it's bigger than just Aldo and you and me. I don't feel comfortable leaving Hannah here by herself. But I also don't think that if I go into hiding, I'm going to do any good. I think you should take Aldo. Watch over him. I'll stay with Hannah. I'll take her with me back to Dunslow. And if people come looking for me, at least I'll have me and the other fighters to back me up. Perhaps that'll be the difference. Maybe we can figure out what's going on.
That sounds like a plan.
Okay.
Blinder would like to go. So I think that let me handle transporting Aldo out of here. And you
Mercy
and...
looks up at both you. Did I hear you say you're looking for a place off the books? Kind of a thing?
Yeah.
I got a couple places.
How much?
What do you mean, how much?
How much do you want?
You don't have to pay me.
You sure?
Your friend Marlene's gonna help me find my friend, right?
Fair?
Call it square on that.
All right.
Marlene nods to Mercy. We're gonna have to probably get something to carry him in, though. It's on the other side of town. We're going all the way back to Night Market. I'd been trying to steer clear of the place, but, you know, with enough days passing by, sometimes the best place to hide is probably right under the nose of whoever it is that might be looking for me and for Martin.
Okay, yeah, let's figure out how we're gonna get him over there. Any ideas?
Well, we could get a wagon of some type. Maybe pay off a shop or something. See if we can borrow it. I mean, I could go get a wagon, but, you know, it might take me the rest of the day. And I don't know how long you want to wait here for.
That's fair. Yeah, let me see if I can get something. I'm gonna leave and go down where the fire has not affected the town.
So, like, further down Wicker Street?
Further down, yeah.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna go to, I'm gonna find a shop that has a wagon, like maybe a produce shop or something like that.
Sure.
And
I mean, you find a couple
if...
of cabbies and things like that, too.
Okay, I'll go up to a cabbie.
Sure.
Hey, I need your services to transport a package for me.
Sure. What sort of package are we talking about here? I only got so much space in the back.
Like a long box.
Like a long box? Yeah, I could probably manage that.
All right. The stipulation is that I load it and I unload it.
Sure.
All right. I'm going from address A to address B.
In that moment, though, when you finish up that thing with the cabbie, Carver, heading down the street through Char Hollow, you found your way there, and you see the familiar face of the woman that you had met at the Dunslow fighting pits. Oh, no, sorry, you're heading to the fighting pits. Never mind, that's not you heading to Char Hollow. That's you heading to the... My apologies. Sorry, I mean Martin coming down the street in the wagon, in the cabbie, who was heading to Char Hollow. Martin, my apologies there, Xylus. Martin is in the cab with the woman, Eunice, and he sees the... actually, no, you don't know Reaper at all.
No, I don't.
So it would be Eunice that recognizes her.
Okay.
So she's sitting there and she's sort of woken up. She looks over and she's like, Hey, wait a second. That's Aldo's friend. She says as she points over to Reaper.
All right. Hey, could you go ahead and stop here? Ask the cabbie to stop.
Over. You see a cab pulling over. You can't really see who's inside. It pulls over right a few feet away from where you are, Reaper.
I'm gonna look over at the cab as it's pulling over, and I'll look over at the cab driver that I was talking to. So how much for your services?
If you want this to be on the down low, then call it double fare.
Double fare. All right. Give me a few minutes, but I'm down.
Sure.
he says, and then he starts like setting stuff up to whatever specifications you had given him. You know, like kind of pulling stuff and moving stuff around.
I'm gonna stand up straight and look over where the cab stopped near me.
Yeah, you see at first a hand sort of reaching out of it, and then comes into the opening. She seems like she's struggling to stand up, but you see Eunice, who is the woman that has been dating Aldo on and off for the past several months. You know, who Aldo, if you remember, had mentioned he hadn't seen in days at all. She's sort of struggling in the cab, and you see another face sort of for a moment maybe helping her. I presume Martin is probably helping her a little bit. A face
Oh yeah,
that,
he would have hopped out and is
yeah, a face that
helping her down.
seems familiar. I'll say this. The face of the man seems familiar, but you're not really sure where to place it. However, you, Martin, recognize Reaper. You recognize Reaper as a local of this neighborhood, having been a Charhollow boy all the way back in years yourself. You recognize Reaper as another one of the kids who sort of grew up in this district of town. They were part of a man known as Aldo, or the Wicker Street Gang, as a younger, teenager and things like that. And so during the time where you still worked out of Charhollow, under a different name, of course, and everything like that, you actually recognize them. But it seems like they don't recognize you.
All right. Well, walk up with Eunice, or with this, messed up looking woman.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so, this is Aldo's friend. Just pointing at Reaper.
Yeah, I'm Reaper.
Reaper, it's good to meet you. Martin extends a hand.
Takes the hand and shakes it.
Okay.
I'm Reaper.
Awesome. Yeah, found this one under some hard times. Some real hard times.
This man, don't be so modest. This man saved me.
Meh.
No, it's fine. Reaper can be trusted. She's like a daughter to Aldo. It's fine. I trust her as much as I trust Aldo. Some people had taken me. Maybe we shouldn't talk about it here, but some people had taken me.
That's what I was saying.
Anyways, I'm just saying this man rescued me. That's all I'm saying, Reaper.
Let's take this party to another place. I'm gonna rent a cab. I got something to transport, but I will take you. She looks at Eunice.
Mm-hmm.
I have somebody for you to meet, possibly. But let's go. I'm gonna tell the cab driver to meet us there.
Okay.
And then I'll give them direction. So we're gonna. She starts walking and tells the cab driver where to go.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I'm following.
In the cab still, or did you send the cabbie on his way, Martin?
Oh no. I'm walking.
Oh, you're like walking and helping Eunice. Okay. Yeah. So you guys walk several blocks back down, towards what seems like a smoldering fire in the distance. You can see it, and as Eunice gets closer, she kind of like looks up and she's like, "What is going on? Was there some sort of fire?"
I think somebody is trying to kill Aldo. There was a big fire. He is in a very delicate condition right now, but he's still alive. So I think the best course of action is for both of you guys to bunk up in a secret place. I don't know why they want you guys, but here it is.
Is this the same bluecoats that took me?
Oh, they took you? The bluecoats took you?
Yeah, the night of the attack. After I called for a physician, I went off to get to Aldo, and as I was bringing the physician back, some bluecoats came over as the physician was caring for Aldo and asked me a few questions. And they said they needed to speak to me privately, and then they put me in a carriage, and then he found me. Dead.
The bluecoats came and said that I had been seen, that I was the one that stabbed Aldo.
No, that wasn't. You didn't stab him. I was there. It was a large, pale man.
And there was another man, if I remember. Aldo and I spoke. We should speak when we get to our destination.
Sure. So you guys make your way down the street until you eventually arrive at the, sort of outside of all the chaos that's going on. Marlene is actually sort of seems to be waiting near the door where Mercy was. Mercy is now waiting sort of on the outside of the crowd, keeping tabs on everybody. Because as the fires have gone on, more and more people have gathered. So it's easy to blend into the crowd, but occasionally it seems like Mercy is trying to keep an eye on who's coming and who's going and that sort of thing as best as they can. So you arrive. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, do I see Mercy?
You see the back of a bunch of people in a crowd, hooded. You recognize the hood that she was wearing, the Reaper, so you're like, oh, there's Mercy. But you see the back of her head.
So I don't see her face.
You don't see her face currently, no.
Okay.
I'll walk over to Mercy and Marlene.
Okay.
And introduce.
So Mercy turns
and Blinder.
And as Mercy turns, her face gets wide. Oh my God, Martin, you're okay! She starts saying, and she jumps forward and hugs him.
What the hell? And returns the hug, kind of does a spin with her. Like, holy crap! Just lightly sets her down. I thought we were supposed to be hanging low. Why are we next to the bonfire?
Well, one of their friends was attacked, they think, and someone lit their house on fire is what they're thinking. So we were here, and some people helped to rescue him, and so we're trying to move him to a safe place. Remember where we did the canal job, that place I said we'd never go back to?
Yes.
In Night Market?
Yes.
I think we're going to have to lay low there for a little while.
Really?
Yeah. I know you
that
hate
place
it.
Smells.
It does,
so
sure.
bad.
Yeah, but that's why no one will come around there. It smells, and nobody cares.
Oh.
Put plugs in your nose. You can just, you all can see at this point that there's like, Mercy had a very stoic face, like almost hiding her emotions, other than occasionally when she seemed like she was sad. But like since seeing Martin and they hugged and everything like that, there's just this brightness that has taken over Mercy's face. Like her eyes have lit up, like there's almost a glow to her for a moment. Like she is so ecstatic. It rings in her voice, it rings in her body language. Like you can see almost visibly that all the fear and anxiety that had been weighing on her shoulders has now sort of just slipped away, and she's lost in this moment of talking with what seems like a very dear old friend to her.
And Martin, though he is a man large of stature, is kind of like hunched over and kind of shrunken himself up a little bit, almost like you see like the comical sight of seeing the exceptionally large man seeing like a really cute dog.
There's this obvious familial connection, like a big brother, little sister, or even a big sister, little brother, but that sort of thing.
Yeah, that sort of thing.
At that point, Marlene looks over at you and is like, Martin.
And like seeing her body completely changes, goes back straight, stands broad of shoulder again.
Mm-hmm.
Marlene. So, where are we going? When are we leaving?
Well, as soon as Mercy chimes in at this point, as soon as Reaper can move her friend.
Okay.
I'm gonna get back to you guys in a minute. I got something to take care of.
Okay.
All right.
So with that, I will
you need
go.
A hand?
I don't think
Or
so.
an
I think
eye?
I got it. I think I have it. Thank you, though.
Binder
Go
has
ahead.
something?
Yeah. So, like, seeing the Carvers, do I see Martin's friend, Eunice?
Yes, actually, at this point, Eunice sees Marlene, and she's like, oh, Marlene, it's good to see you. And Eunice is looking at everyone, doesn't recognize Mercy, doesn't recognizes Reaper, obviously, recognizes Marlene, asks about how Aldo is doing. Marlene's like, oh, he's just inside. And then there's this moment where Eunice looks up at Blinder. And then she seems like she's about to say something. Like she's like about to be like... And then she gets really hesitant. I'm gonna go talk to Aldo.
I'll tap her on the shoulder.
Hmm?
I know. Aldo told me.
She gets in close and whispers, "What did Aldo tell you?"
I think this guy is one of the people that can talk to spirits.
Oh, you don't know.
I don't know what.
Nothing. She says.
Oh, no, so you can't say that.
I want to see Aldo. I want to know he's okay.
Okay, but then you have to tell me.
Okay.
Okay, let's go.
So, Merlane helps her at this point, taking her away. Did you have something, Blinder? You're muted.
Oh, sorry.
There you
As
go.
they walk away,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna abruptly turn around. Right, once they're out of earshot, I'm gonna be like, Lord of Mercy is like, "Oh, we found your friend. That is quite nice."
Hello.
Hello,
Extends an arm. Martin.
hello. Shake his hand. I quite, you know, quickly. I understand you're looking for a man by the name of Ezra.
Yeah.
I see. I happen to be familiar with this man. My only question to you, is I understand Mr. Ezra is being hunted for. Do you happen to know why?
No, that was one of the questions I was going to ask him. Because as soon as I found this Ezra, whoever they may be, some Scovelander, that's all I know.
We unfortunately we are quite numerous.
There are a lot of you. No
Yeah.
offense. As soon as I found him, I was gonna have an in-depth conversation with that person. Make sure he knows so that something's going up, because I don't get involved in big hairy deals, and for some reason this Ezra has me involved in a big hairy deal, and I don't much care for it.
Now that you mentioned Scovelander, I believe it was said that a Scovelander stabbed Aldo, and I'll look at Blinder. I'll just glare at him.
Well, that's what I was alluding to, is that I
It's
was
like-
getting tied up in the stabbing of somebody who I don't even know.
So Ezra is suggested as the person that stabbed Aldo.
Yep.
Okay, so we have that piece of the puzzle. Now we have to find out who was trying to burn Aldo's life.
And who was trying to set me up. And my friend.
Do you happen to know of a little thug named Shale?
Martin recognizes that name, obviously.
Martin just starts he just out and out belly laughing, like he's watching just something amazingly funny. I almost made him pee his pants. It was funny as fuck.
I broke his jaw.
You did that. Oh, high five. Up top for that one. How many hits?
1.
Ooh. Hey, Marlene. Training another good one here, it seems.
Merlane just looks over a second. She's like, "That's the best."
We might have to test that sometime. What do you think?
I'm down.
All right.
So, back to the topic. You you are seeking this, Ezra, of your own faculties. You're not being hired or solicited or coerced into looking for this man. You don't work for somebody, or
No, currently I work for myself. I'm a freelancer,
I see.
and I can't have the stabbing of some poor old fool for being in the wrong place at the wrong time on my record. You know what I mean? If I'm going to hurt somebody, it's going to be for a damn good reason, and I'm not going to go after some old man. That's below me.
Well,
Marlene
from what I understand,
sort of
is
steps. Hold up. Marlene sort of steps into the middle of the conversation real quick. Sorry to interrupt, but I honestly feel like the less that I know about where you guys are going, the better. So I'm gonna bring Henna with me, and I presume you've got Aldo all figured out.
Yeah.
And I'll be at the pits if you need me. Send someone for me.
Okay, sounds good.
And with that, she'll take Henna, holding Henna up. She'll be like, "Don't worry, honey. Aldo's gonna be fine. Reaper's got him." They say, and they disappear off into the crowd. Okay, so and then you can continue saying what you were saying. I mean, obviously after, but yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to so my understanding of the situation is that Mr. Ezra is being looked for, and this stabbing that took place was not precipitated by him precisely. He was in the vicinity.
We're not talking about rain.
Excuse me?
Precipitated? That's like rain, right?
Sure. What I'm seeing is that he did not instigate, or he did not stab the individual. He was merely a bystander. Yeah. But I find it rather puzzling that there's such a fervent interest in his by others in his search.
Wow, can you condense that and just make it a single point?
Somebody's looking for him. I want to find out why.
Because he stabbed someone.
No, from the information that I have, that is not accurate.
So that it
How
was
would
either
you have
him
information?
or it was you.
How would you have information about a stabbing?
Because he was there.
You don't know that.
I do know that. Aldo
Why?
told me. He described you. He described a person that did exactly the same thing you did when you found out that Aldo was in that house.
First of all, and I will divulge why and how I have come about my information. That is inaccurate. You have been described A, a Scovelander, B, a tall Scovelander, and 3, a man. Scovelanders are naturally tall, and we are 2/3 of the population.
I understand that. I'm not talking about the person that stabbed Aldo's description. I'm talking about the description that Aldo himself gave me. He didn't know if you stabbed him. He only knows that you were pulling out the knife.
Oh, so you didn't stab him?
He doesn't know if he stabbed him. He only knows that he was pulling out the knife.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a little confused.
We're still in the vicinity of the.
You guys
The
are a little
triage.
ways. You guys are a little ways away from the triage. Actually, you're on the edge, waiting for the cabbie to arrive.
So as you can see, all of these points put you in a very weird predicament.
Yeah, and you didn't even say your name. What's your name?
Mr. Blinder.
Mr. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
Mr.
I'm the
Blinder.
Immortal Emperor. What's your name?
He said it's Blinder.
His name's Blinder, Martin. That's what he goes by. This is Mercy who speaks, by the way.
Yeah.
He's a good man. I don't think he's the one who killed or attacked your friend.
I don't know. He uses like super like I don't know, like college words.
He's obviously educated. I mean, that's not a bad thing, though.
I don't think he stabbed Aldo, but I think he knows who did it because he was there, and I know he was there.
I mean, who else was there that could recognize him?
Eunice.
Wasn't that the nice woman we just met?
Mm-hmm. That's why
It
she
was.
froze when she saw him.
Oh, she froze?
Oh, I
So
didn't, I didn't notice, says Mercy.
Yeah, I didn't notice either. I was paying too much attention to my friend here. Give Mercy a little shake on the shoulder.
I'll stop in the road. Right, as we're walking. I'll stop at the road and make sure there's at least... Well, in his estimation, a good lead, but probably wouldn't be with the likes of Reaper and Martin. Like, about 5 feet, of distance. It's like, okay, I apologize. It is obvious that it cannot continue the deception. I am this person you're looking for. I am Ezra. And he's just like taking a step. It's like, you must understand that
Hi.
I did not stab your friend. I was stepping out of from having a drink in a bar, and the man was... I thought it was... Oh, there was a woman being purse snatched. There was a purse snatcher, and Mr. Aldo had already been stabbed. When I had entered the scene in order to involve myself, I guess. I did pull out the blade, so he did see that. You have to understand, I don't know any of you. I met even Mercy after she had robbed me. So you have to understand that I have a great deal. There's a great deal of interest in me.
Well, I'm going to say at this point that I don't really give a fuck about you. I want to know who the purse snatcher was, because that's closer to me cleaning this off my reputation.
Did you get stopped by the Bluecoats too?
No,
No, not you, Martin.
Oh, I have not been approached by them. I went to the station around the corner a little while ago, scared the hell out of Chael, and then followed him back to his place.
Because the Bluecoats came after me for stabbing Aldo. I don't know if that was Shale or if that was the same people that took Eunice or if they're the same thing.
I have no idea. Yeah, no, I have no idea. Hey, Ezra, or well, Blinder, excuse me.
Thank you.
Probably
Would
better
you
to call him
please-
Blinder, just because if we refer to him that name, there's a lot of people looking for him. If you are actually that guy, we should probably refer to him as Blinder.
Right. My apologies. Blinder, would you please describe to me this person that you saw? I'm assuming you saw them, yes?
I did, and I could give you a rough description. I was very confused. I just had a drink, and it was a lot of violence. I've had a very difficult time recently, but I will try to give you the best description I can. It would probably be best not to be here. We could go somewhere. We could continue on our journey to Mercy's place, if, of course. Are you a man of honor?
Are you talking to Martin?
Yeah.
With that, Martin very quickly closes the space and very much invades Blinder's bubble. If you actually want to question my honor, I suggest you have some kind of weapon in your hand.
There's a lot. I'm not quite sure. No question.
Reaper's gonna step between both of them and look at Martin. You don't need to tough talk to him. Look at him. He's not gonna hurt you.
It's not
He's-
him hurting me that I worry about. It's any friends he may have.
I don't. He saved Aldo's life twice. I think a person that would want to cause harm would probably be causing harm right now.
I don't think he has any friends. Other than
I don't.
me, maybe.
I really don't have any friends.
I
Which is
literally found him in the slums in Dunslow living in a pit.
yes.
I mean, if he had friends, he wouldn't have been there.
My jacket has a stench to it that is slowly incorporating itself with my physical being.
Don't draw attention to it. It just makes it worse. Just
I agree.
And with that, like, Martin takes like 3 steps back. Oh.
But
Oh.
I was not
Oh.
questioning honor. What I'm saying is, if you are a man, if you give me your word, and you say you are a man of honor, and I believe that now, that no violence will come to my person if should we go to this place, because you have to understand.
No, Mercy says you're cool, you're cool.
I'm not looking. If you say you didn't stab him, I believe you. There's somebody looking for you. There's somebody looking for me. There's somebody obviously looking for all of us. So I say we all
I don't think
stay
anybody's
low.
looking for me.
That's the thing. I wonder if the Bluecoats are looking for you.
I mean, they probably are, but, you know, I have good friends. They tell me when to lay low.
That's fair.
If I may inquire, the Bluecoats could be looking for you because they are paid to.
That's obvious, yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, really? You really think Bluecoats want to mess with me? I mean, come on. Unless they come at me with guns, it ain't going to do much.
Sure. Yes, you're correct.
But no, nobody's going to harm you. And if anybody wants to harm you, then I guess we're all going to have to talk about it and talk about our feelings.
Ooh, talk about feelings. Yes.
No, thank you.
Okay, so you don't want to fight. You don't want to talk about feelings. What's your groove?
Who, me?
No, Blinder.
What do you mean? What?
I mean, I'm going to say maybe his groove is blinding people.
Well, you're really good at reading books. You're really good at saving lives.
I knew you
You're
were
really
educated.
You're really good at doing whatever you did to find out that Aldo was in that building. You're not really good at fighting, or if you are, you're really afraid of hurting somebody. And you don't like talking about your feelings to resolve conflict. So what's your groove?
I'm poor. I don't really. I don't like violence because it hurts me. I found your friend through deduction. I read books, and well, that may be a particular rarity amongst people of my class and position. It was a privilege that was bestowed to me by my parents. I generally, yes, my I don't talk about my feelings because, no offense, it's none of your business.
But if we're going to hide together, it's going to be all of our businesses.
Let me ask you this. Are you being all skittish because people are following you?
Yeah.
I understand. Do you mind if I ask the questions?
Why are you asking dumb questions?
Because there's a line of the things to get to the point where I keep asking him these questions, and then I hurt him when he doesn't answer.
No, you're not going to hurt him because then you and I are going to have words. We don't hurt the skittish one. He's useful. He reads books and he can be a doc. You wait a minute. So you could be a doctor, right? He could be a doctor. He could be a healer. He could be all kinds of stuff. But also, if you hurt him, he'll know where we sleep and he'll kill us in our sleep.
Mercy looks
true.
over at Mart and she's like, I'm with her on this. I mean, so far, Blinder seemed like an okay guy.
What? Really?
2 against 1.
He had a blade to my throat at one point, and he decided not to, kill me. So I mean, he's got to be worth something.
You had a blade to her throat, just looking at Blinder.
It was a piece of sharp
It's fine,
glass.
Martin. I had a blade to his balls. It's all good.
No.
It was like a weird handshake, let's just say.
Well, I was going to say, ballsy move on your part there, Blinder. Anybody comes and does a knife with her is
that was a
trying to
good
invite
one.
Death.
That was a good one.
I'm just saying that
Somebody had robbed me of what little I have.
This is why I miss Martin. All the puns, Mercy says.
Puns.
All right. Yeah. Well, hey, like I said, she says you're cool, so you're cool.
I mean, I don't know him as well as I know you, but I mean, so far he doesn't seem to be off or anything like that.
Yeah. I mean, and unless you have I don't know, some kind of weird stuff hidden under the clothes.
Oh, he definitely
does.
She whispers
Why?
over to Martin.
Why are you concerned with the whoosh that is under his clothing?
He's talking
Because
weird totems and things.
I'm not concerned with the wooge. I'm only concerned with the wooge that if he wants to try and hurt me, because just
You're
looking at him.
concerned with the whoosh under his clothing that's called a totem because it's going to hurt you.
The possibility is there.
Let's just be
Do
honest
you
for a second.
understand the sexual implications
No.
of this?
Let me just clarify real quick. Martin wasn't talking about anything sexual. He just doesn't know anything about all the magic-y things, rituals and all the ghost stuff. He's not really familiar with it, so he just refers to it as wooge stuff. That's just...
It got really sexual, though, because I think that maybe Martin's head goes to sexuality when it comes to wooge things, so it might excite him.
I mean, maybe
you're not wrong.
Maybe Martin thinks Blinder's cute. I don't know. He might.
I mean, you're not wrong, but no, I was talking about more the ghosty stuff. Just if there is there, I don't know if you are or not, but I think the only way you're going to take me in a fight is if you got some wooge.
No, you think he... What do you think, Martin? He's like two ghosts in a trench coat pretending to be a person? Like what?
Goblins? I don't know.
Look at him. He's a man. Obvious. I mean, he's Skullvinder, but
I am a man. And for that matter, the wooge Mercy is referring to is just superstition. I think most people have charms to ward off ghosts and such. He takes out his coin that has a...
that's the thing I'm talking about. He's got that.
This is a simple ward against...
Apparently has demon's blood on it.
Most people in the city, there's one of the few possessions I have. Go ask... I'll stop. I'll be like, you ma'am. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You just random woman.
Sure.
Right? That
What you want?
She sort of turns and looks at you angrily with this look on her face, like,
never mind.
Now what you want?
I was. Do you have a ghost a spear paint charm?
Of course I do.
See, there you go. Very common.
Why are you asking about it?
Oh, I was proving to our friend here why belief in such superstitions is a common thing.
Don't make jokes about spirits, or you'll become cursed,
she says, and then she spits on the ground and spins around 3 times and then pulls a little pouch out, grabbing something, throwing it over her shoulder.
Let's not use her as an example of normal.
You decided to call upon random person A. That's who random person A was.
I deserve it.
You deserve it. Reach into that bag.
What do you want?
I find?
Look, I don't really care. I was doing what I do. Thank you very much, and I was interrupted.
You were
Needless to
interrupted.
say, I'm not afraid of you.
That's quite fine. I'm quite afraid of you.
Oh, good.
Mercy looks over you with that face like, don't be. He's a teddy bear.
Really?
Martin, you need to learn when to gauge when it's okay to be like the angry dog, you know? Like, I don't think it's going to work on Blinder. He's already off in his own brain most of the time. Like, yeah, you don't need to be on him like that.
Yeah. He's one of them smart people.
He does seem pretty intelligent, yeah.
I read.
Yeah. He dressed like shit, though.
Yes,
that is
I
true.
do.
You definitely
That's-
have him. You definitely have him on the fashion end there. Mercy.
That's
I'm just-
because he says he's poor.
I'm just like, if I can make it back to my apartment, I'm gonna grab you a couple of things.
We can't go to your apartment, Martin. We can send out for some
I
free
s-
stuff from a store.
You know what? I could use a trip to Dunridge. Again.
We can't go there either. It's one of your common haunts. People know that you go there all the time. They know you by name. there.
Kind of need to go though. Like
What-
I can't get to my apartment. And you see these things?
What did you?
They're a mess.
What area of town did you say
Night market.
just now?
Dunridge
No.
and Sons. It's a
Oh,
clothing
where
store and
Dungeons
night
and Sons
market.
is, yeah.
Oh, I see.
They have a few
I-
different shops throughout the different parts of the city. So, night market is one of the places where they have a shop. Yes, I believe they also have one in Brightstone as well, and I think there's one here in Char Hollow. Maybe I don't remember.
Night market is near the wall.
Night market is near where the train station is. Yes,
Yeah.
Gaddock train station.
I don't. The sound of that thing. It's disturbing. So.
Sure. So with this moment being what it is, not to say resolving the conversation because I presume there's much more to go. You all eventually, Reaper especially, gathers Aldo, putting him into sort of a hammock or bed sort of thing. Eventually the cabbie arrives. You place him into the back, hidden by blankets, I presume, or something of that variety. Okay. And then you
Right.
start making your way towards the night market.
Okay.
Real quick, I'm going to go over to Carver because we've been off in that scene for a while, and I do want to check in with Carver here. Real quick, as Carver had arrived in Dunslow in the fighting pits, he arrived, and there are people training and working out and practice fighting and doing all sorts of stuff. And he arrives in the area he had once been when he had met Marlene. He doesn't see the woman he had met as Marlene. He doesn't see the familiar Aruvian woman he saw talking to Marlene. He doesn't see any of the similar faces that he saw from earlier, much earlier in the day. But he sees some of the fighters that he had seen. They're all training or working out or taking a break, eating some food here, getting a drink there, that sort of thing. What does Carver do?
Do I see the person who I asked the previous night where they had been?
What do you mean?
So when I arrived, I asked someone where Marlene was.
Oh, yeah.
and
You see that guy.
they pointed.
You see that guy.
Okay.
He's a big dude, big braid, kind of goatee going on. He's got braided, like, mohawk thing going backwards, tattoos all over his body. He's wearing, like, shorts, that sort of thing. He's just working out. He's got padding wrapped on his hands and his feet, and he's, like, punching into a pad sort of a thing.
I'll walk up to him and I'll be like, I'm back looking for Marlene.
He's just sitting there punching, like... He stops for a second.
You're looking for Marlene, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. You're that guy from earlier, huh?
Yeah. She had me run a little errand. I'm following up.
I haven't seen Marlene in a few hours. Last I saw it seemed like she was heading towards Char Hollow.
Char Hollow?
Yeah. She's got a few friends over there, you know how it is.
Is she friends with that, Marcy person?
Marcy. Mercy? Marcy?
Yeah.
Who's that?
Mercy.
Who?
Mercy.
I don't know who you're talking about, bud.
All right.
Is Marlene friends with a person named Mercy? I don't know. Marlene knows a lot of people. I mean,
All right.
maybe. Was Mercy here?
Yeah.
Is she here right now?
No, she was here with someone named Reaver.
Reaver. Oh, are you talking about Reaper?
I might be.
Reaper is one of Marlene's people. She's also a fighter here in the pits. One of the best, actually. I fought her myself, but still on the lam, healing up. That's how it is.
Do you know where I might be able to find Reaper?
Yeah, Reaper and Marlene walked off together, heading towards Char Hollow.
Okay.
Couple hours ago, I think.
Were they accompanied by a guy named Blinker?
A big guy, Skovlander, kind of pale.
Think so.
Look like he might pee his pants at any moment.
Yeah, that's the guy.
Yep, that's the guy, yep. Yep, I saw him. He was with them and some other short, Aruvian-looking chick.
Okay.
Yeah, they headed off
We're all
towards
headed
Char
towards
Hollow.
Char Hollow?
Yeah, probably gonna go visit one of Marlene's friends. Maybe grab a drink. There's a tavern over there Marlene real likes. You know how it is.
All right. Well, if you see them here and I haven't gotten with them, just let them know that Carver's looking for her.
Carver.
Carver.
Okay. You want to, write that down or something?
And he'll take out a little notebook and scribble down a note and pass it off to the guy.
He's looking at it upside down. He's like, does that say what you want it to say?
It should.
Okay. I'll make sure she gets that. And he goes and sets it down and puts a book on top of it or something, like a rock.
Pat him on the shoulder, kind of slow, yeah, that's... Thank you, big guy.
Hey, I'm not an idiot. I just don't know how to read.
I never said you were an idiot. Not everybody has the privilege to be able to get to read.
I mean, that's fair. You're a deep guy. That was
Anyways,
deep.
thanks for the help,
Hey, no problem. What was your name?
Carver.
Nice to meet you, Carver. I'm Brutus.
Reaches in and shakes your hand.
And I'll shake his hand.
Yeah. You be okay, man. Have a good one.
You too. Keep up the training.
Oh, yeah, you know how it is.
And then he goes back to it slowly, start working into it.
And then I'll try making my way over to Char Hollow and see if I can spot Marlene or Reaper.
Actually, along the road, you're taking the main road. Along the road, you're heading down, and you, after some time, you see Marlene actually walking towards you. She doesn't seem to be noticing you. She has an old woman with her that she's sort of holding and helping walk and stuff. And you see her walking right towards you, in fact. Well, not paying attention oh, hey, look at that guy, but just sort of walking down the street, basically heading the opposite direction to you.
I'll walk up to her and...
Okay.
Marlene?
Oh. Hi.
Do you have a second?
Sure. What's up?
I'm-
She walks over and helps Henna sit down kind of on an edge, there's walkways and things like that. Kind of find a bench, sits Henna down on the bench, and then takes a few steps over. What's up?
I'm looking for that guy who was hanging around Reaper. Blinker, I think was his name.
Oh, you mean Blinder.
Blinder.
Yeah.
I'm looking for him.
Okay.
He had some information about something that involves me, and I wanted to kind of touch base with him on
He knows
what that
something
information is.
about something that involves you.
Yes.
What are we talking here? Do you know something about what happened to Aldo?
Who's Aldo?
She gives you that look really quick. She's really trying to stare you down and figure you out.
What happened to Aldo? Who is Aldo and what happened to him?
Just a friend.
Okay.
She looks over at Henna. Henna, you
I
ever
don't
seen this
know
guy
an
before?
Aldo.
And then Henna's like, nope, never seen him around. Okay. Okay, that's fine. They're down Wicker Street. They were there a little while ago. I mean, if you hurry up, you
Wicker
might be able to
Street?
catch them.
All right, thank you very much. Brutus left. I left a note with Brutus.
Okay,
He'll probably try to hand that to you.
sure.
I didn't know if I was going to find you in time or not.
Sure. Can I
but it
just
has my-
can I just be honest with you for a second here, bud? I don't really know you from anyone, and I know you work for Brill. Is this some sort of official Brill business, or what's going on here?
This is personal.
Personal.
And if
Okay.
you want, I could fill you in on the details privately, but I'm not about to speak about it on the road.
Well, I mean, before I tell you where my friends are, because I know that they're in a weird situation, I kind of like to hear what you have to say. Otherwise,
Do you have a alcove we could duck into?
Yeah,
I
sure.
Could give you the deets.
she goes over and picks up Henna. Don't mind Henna. She can keep a secret. And you step off down an alleyway, sets Henna down, sitting on like top of a barrel or something, or an old box or something. And you just sit there in the alleyway, and then Marlene just sits there looking at you, kind of like,
Alrighty. Well, because everyone's going to be asking me these questions, might as well start at the beginning. I am from a wealthy family, and I was on a train headed to this city. When the train car caught fire, there was lots of screaming, my family had disappeared, and I myself was thrust into the desert from an explosion. I survived and made my way to the desert people, and they saved me. When I arrived here, I departed them, tried tracking down a lead about my family, about the train, but apparently no one has heard about the train that blew up. So
yeah, I haven't heard anything about that either.
it's something of a cover-up.
I mean, the ministry obviously would. People, if they're afraid to use the trains, it means most of the transportation and cargo gets placed somewhere else. I mean, it would make a lot of sense.
So it's been a wild ride to try and figure out what happened to my family, but really, that's what this whole thing is about. I could give a good goddamn about anyone else's personal stuff. I am just trying to figure out what happened to my family and hold the individuals responsible accountable.
You think this blinder guy is responsible? Is that what you're saying?
No, this blinder individual happens to know something
Does he?
more about the situation than I understood at the moment. He had said something to me.
No, and you want to ask him about that?
Yes.
Okay. Can I just, I don't want to be a jerk in this situation here, because it seems like I can see that what you're feeling is pretty real. You've obviously been through some pain. But can I just be very, very real with you for a second? Be completely
Sure.
honest. If I find out you're working for whoever's responsible for the horrible things that have happened to my friends, and if I tell you where they are, where they're heading, and you harm them or lead to their harm in some way, you better have an army ready, because I will come for you. And it won't be just broken bones. You'll be out, sir. Life done and over. You'll be a spirit for the wardens, if you catch my drift. Are we good on that?
We are. I do feel it very important to tell you then that I was attacked after seeking information about the train.
Where are you?
I was.
If you head down this alley over here and you just keep running, the streets are really, really busy. They've probably had a hard time moving. Run down this alley probably 6-7 blocks. Take a sharp left, then an immediate right. Keep running for about another 4 or 5 blocks. By then you should get up ahead of them and probably be able to cut them off. Let them know that you ran into me, said Marlene sent you over. Because at this point in time, they're not going to trust anyone. Give Reaper this, she'll know. And she pulls a little, like, button out of a pocket and then hands it to you.
And I'll take it. I thank you, and I owe you one.
Help my friends. If what you're telling me is the truth, help my friends. Make sure they're okay. And we can call it square.
Fair enough. And he'll book it.
Yep. And then she'll pick up Henna and keep on heading to Dunslow. So with this moment, you've got Aldo loaded up. You're starting to head out. Everyone's getting onto the wagon, kind of hiding themselves, and you start heading down the road. And just because it is 12 o'clock right now, so I do want to sort of wrap up soon. As you're heading down the road, you get several blocks ahead. Everything seems to be going fine. No one's really paying attention to you, and all of a sudden someone comes, like, just rushing out of an alleyway. And the stands in front of the carriage. You see Marlene Carver or actually you wouldn't see Marlene. You see would it be Reaper probably is out towards the front, or is Reaper hidden?
I think Reaper would be out towards the front.
Okay, so you see Reaper, so you recognize her. But I'll presume the rest of you are probably hidden in the back sort of the wagon. Like definitely Ezra for sure. Definitely Ezra. Yes.
And I am laying down trying to recover.
Yeah. So you see Reaper sitting like basically right behind the cabbie, kind of like, and she looks over one shoulder facing towards you. And you see her in basically a big cabbie wagon that's been covered up, kind of like, imagine like, you know, old like Oregon Trail kind of wagon, just not wood wheels, you know.
Okay, so they're passing by me?
Yes, you come rushing out, and then you see them, and you almost get in front of them, and then they're slowly passing by you, and you see Reaper look over at you. Reaper, you turn and see motion, and then you see the man that had showed up at the Dunslow fighting pits earlier, and he's just standing there looking at you as you go past him.
Can I keep a pace of the
Oh wagon? Yeah, it's not moving too fast. Like they're not trying to be anything. Like if they go too fast, you know, it might draw attention. So they're not going too fast.
I'll reach and grab the button.
Okay.
And try to get a little bit in front.
Sure.
Marlene sent me.
You see him, and he's holding a button. It was a token Marlene had given you anytime you would do something really good. You know, it's kind of like that passing of thing. You know, like almost like a favor. It was this sort of like inside joke you and her had, where basically when you did something good, Marlene would hand you the button, and when Marlene did something good, you know, you would hand her back the button. This sort of like game you would play sort of a thing. Or when someone did something really dumb, you might hand them the button and be like, good job, bud. You know, sort of like this joke. So it's a very particular button. And it's something that's been really important to you. And you look at it and you're like, nope, that's it.
I'm going to hide.
I'll grab the button and I'll tell the cabbie to take it to a slower level so that he'll
slow it down.
Slow it down and let Carver get on.
And he'll climb up and he'll kind of catch his breath. He'll be like, oh, she was right. Oh my goodness. Oh, lungs exploding.
Whose lungs are exploding?
Who's that?
Oh, I'm supposed to be being quiet.
You see a flap is
Sorry,
moved.
Mercy.
A flap moves, and then Mercy pokes her head through. Who's out here?
Oh,
looking at Reaper.
Hi, it's Mercy.
Mercy.
Well, what? Mercy? Okay.
Why don't you just focus on breathing there, pal?
Yeah, all right, yeah.
She pushes the flap back, and you see there's like 2 more people, and there's a dude laying in like some sort of bed, kind of covered in blankets. Ezra is like sheepishly hiding, like, don't look at me. And Martin's just sitting there like, what's happening?
So, do you remember yesterday? Or earlier today? I can't remember what it was. I don't sleep much.
He's pointing at me.
Yeah, I think so.
No, I'm pointing at, I'm looking at Reaper.
Oh, Reaper, sorry.
Yeah, I can't see him.
I remember yesterday.
You can see
and I
him now
remember
hidden away
earlier
in a
today.
corner, kind of in a shadow. Like, you're talking to Reaper, but then as the flap is pulled back, you'll see 2 more people back there. But yeah, please continue with your conversation.
The guy that you're hanging out with, Blinder, that's Blinder. He has information I need. I
Nice.
think.
Seems he's super popular.
Yeah.
Kind of reach
Anyway.
over and shake Blinder's shoulder. You're making friends already.
Anyways,
That's wonderful.
Shakes his hand off.
Marlene said that she'd help me find you guys if I help you guys, so I'm here to help. Yeah.
Okay, right now we're going to go play hide, not seek.
Really good
Right.
at seeking bit though.
Okay. That sounds cool.
Yeah, we're losing.
Yeah. No, I found you pretty easy.
Yeah,
But
see,
I mean,
we're losing.
I did find you with friends, so.
Yeah, fair.
I just
I'm gonna awkwardly climb into the back,
Oh, yeah, sure.
like, just like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, no, I'm just.
is this a good reason why you want to talk to me about things?
See,
yeah,
you
no,
went and messed it
the-
up. I didn't even tell him that you were Blinder. I almost said Blinker.
You just outed yourself
didn't-
over there, bud.
Marlene,
Yeah, you outed yourself.
I hear
Marlene
we've
told
spoken
me.
before.
I thought you were Blinker. Marlene told me you were Blinder, and I remembered that was the name that you told me. Yeah.
Never make fun of my name.
I wasn't trying to make fun of your name. I was making fun of my memory. Thank you very fucking much.
Well, you've been corrected.
I gotta know,
Really?
says Mercy. What were you calling him? Was it something else?
Yeah. Blinker.
Ooh, that's a good name. I like
No,
that.
that is not a good name. Do
It's a
not
great
do that.
name. What are you talking about?
That is not a good name.
Oh my god,
That
it
is
was
not
just a
good name
mistake.
at
If you
all.
want to get touchy about it, we can stop the wagon and have a fist fight about it.
No fist fights.
Okay, well then shut the fuck up about it now. All right.
Someone's bossy, says Mercy. And then,
Oh yeah.
I kind of like him.
I just ran you guys down in the streets. I don't need to be in a fucking bitch fest about bullshit. Now that we have each other's names and they're all correct, and I'm here to help, what can I do to help? And then, eventually, I'm gonna need to talk to you about the shit you said to me yesterday, because it's fucking me up.
that was earlier today, bud. Says
Earlier
Mercy.
today, yesterday, I'm
Yeah.
on drugs. I don't care.
Okay.
I'll admit it.
Okay. You might want to bring down the dosage just a little.
I can't
Says
because
Mercy.
of the screaming. But, we'll get there. I'll tell you all
The
about it.
screaming.
Screaming.
Mercy looks over at Reaper and is like,
We're-
I'm glad your friend Marlene sent us this guy.
And I'm gonna look at Reaper and be like, we really are gonna lose at the game of hide.
Yeah, we are.
I have that pouty face on, like I'm just like sit there and turn my shoulder and just watch the car ride. And if anybody really, he's actively avoiding people.
Sure.
Like,
The cabbie looks over at Reaper and is like, you want me to keep going now?
Yes, please.
And off. You continue going. And I think, with it being 12:08, unless there's last little bits that you all really needed to talk about tonight, is there? No?
Not particularly.
I think with all of you having a wonderful frenemy sort of argument, that is an excellent point to call our game for the evening.
God damn, dude.